The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51, D-Class Mecha Master Assessment. There are many coincidences in this world. The landing ship that Xia Xingchen took to the space station was the same one he took when he came to watch Star. After the landing ship accelerated on the electromagnetic launch track, the 8 propulsion rockets were fully opened, carrying Xia Xingchen and his mecha to the space station. When he arrived at the Watchstar space station, the military had special personnel to receive him. He and the mecha boarded a transport spacecraft and flew to Chang'an Star, the capital of the Western Administrative District. There are 5 major administrative districts in the Galactic Empire. The capital administrative district, the capital is Xianyuan Star, which is also the capital of the entire Galactic Empire. The Eastern Administrative District, the capital is Penglai Star. The Western Administrative District, the capital is Chang'an Star. The Northern Administrative District, the capital is Siberia Star. The Southern Administrative District, the capital is Antarctica Star. Each administrative district has a mecha level examination center. This journey takes 15 days. Xia Xingchen stayed in the cabin, and every day he was meditating and reading technical information. He is now studying the design drawings and instruction manuals of various mechas every day. In the words of Father Free, only by understanding the opponent can you better defeat the opponent. Chang'an Star is a very unique planet. It is slightly larger than the Earth, but it has 34 satellites. The test site is on Chang'an 18. This is a planet with an area only half the size of the moon. Half of the area of the planet has been transformed into a space station, which is specially used for the Mecha Master level test. Arriving at Chang'an 18, I came to the special reception office of the military. There were special personnel responsible for reception, helping Xia Xingchen to open a room, store the mecha, and take him to register. Since there are hundreds of thousands of mecha masters who come to register every day, and Chang'an 18 has only 8,000 simulators, and each simulator can only conduct more than a dozen tests every day, there are a large number of mecha masters backlog here. Therefore, the tourism and service industries here are very developed, and there are many people selling various exam secrets on the street. Moreover, here, there are a large number of specimens of various forces, using the method of handing out small cards, which has been used for hundreds of years, to recruit talents. Among them are the military large corporate consortiums, large interstellar mine owners, and even star pirates and some secret organizations against the Galactic Empire. They offer very generous conditions to the mecha masters, who pass the level test. And for those who fail the test, they may provide various conditions and resources to help them level up. Xia Xingchen did not wear a military uniform, and dozens of people talked to him along the way. But what surprised him was that a force from Watchstar recruited the largest number of people. They said that there was a big mine owner on Watchstar, who was very rich, and recruited a large number of mecha masters to guard the mines, with generous treatment and various practical opportunities. Xia Xingchen frowned, because as far as he knew, Watchstar had no mineral resources at all, and the sandworms underground and the stinging scorpions on the ground were rampant, and there were no mines to guard. When he carefully asked about the true identity of the mine owner, everyone was vague and even turned against each other on the spot. He felt that there must be something wrong here. 3 days passed quickly. It was his turn to take the exam. This was thanks to the military's privileges, otherwise it would be very likely to wait for more than 10 days. When he arrived at the examination center, everyone had a registration card in their hands, and the mecha master was guided to the corresponding examination room through the query machine. First come, first served. Many people were eliminated after their machines crashed within a few minutes in the first stage of the exam. The empty simulator will be used for the next person's assessment. Xia Xingchen sat in the simulator, inserted the registration card into the console in front of him, put on the mental force sensing helmet, and selected the ranger mech. When the countdown in front of him ended, the ranger mech rushed out like a fly. He had done this kind of test countless times on the simulator, and had long been familiar with it. Especially after participating in actual combat for half a year, He found that there were many obstacles that he could pass with more reasonable and faster methods. An hour passed quickly, and the Ranger Mech was unscathed. At this time, the words "passed S-level performance" appeared on the screen. It turned out that the system would score the Mecha Master who passed the test and give a score based on the distance he reached within an hour and the completeness rate of the Mecha. There are 4 levels: S, A, B, and C. This score is also an important indicator to measure the level of the Mecha Master. For example, if 2 Mecha Masters of the same D level compete for a position, this score can become an important reference. On the first day of the exam, nearly 60% of the Mecha Masters were eliminated, but no one complained, because this was a complete assessment of hard power. There was no room for falsehood, and even excuses were hard to find. Students who passed the first stage of the exam will take the second stage of the exam on the second day. The next day, it was still the same process, but they went to a different exam room and the number of students was much smaller. Insert the card, enter the system, select the scene, space station. Xia Xingchen was happy when he saw it. Is this really a coincidence? The first time he entered the simulation system that year, he drew this map. The Ranger Mecha stood on the catapult of the space station. The catapult started, and the Ranger flew out. Xia Xingchen stepped hard on the power pedal, the thrusters were fully turned on, and the engine was immediately increased to maximum power. The Ranger rotated a circle while driving at high speed, and the terrain scanning radar quickly confirmed the surrounding terrain. His brain quickly analyzed the possible hiding places of the enemy mechas, and combined with the heat source detector, he instantly determined the locations of the 4 night sky mechas. The thrusters on his chest deflected to the side at an angle, and the Ranger flew out diagonally, avoiding the first round of attacks from the 4 night sky mechas. The Ranger Mecha rotated at high speed, and the Mecha laser rifle in his hand was adjusted to the continuous shooting mode. 6 lasers were fired at 3 mechas during the rotation of the Mecha. 2 shots were fired at each target, and the first shot of each target was directly aimed at the vital point, while the second shot was aimed at the direction that the enemy Mecha wanted to avoid. The 3 night skies were hit in the vital point, and were judged to be exploded by the system. In fact, this move is Haji's unique move. This move has higher requirements for the operation, overall view, eyesight and experience of the Mecha Master, and it is very mentally demanding. Haji himself can attack 4 targets at the same time, and Xia Xingchen can only attack 3 at present. If the inside skill is used, 5 targets can be attacked at the same time. This is because 10 continuous shots are the limit of a laser rifle. The remaining night sky mech was shooting at the Ranger with a laser sniper rifle from more than 50,000 meters away. The Ranger kept changing speed and direction, closing the distance with the night sky mech. Seeing that it could not hurt the Ranger, the night sky mech threw away its sniper rifle, took out 2 beam swords, and rushed towards the Ranger. Xia Xingchen threw away the laser rifle, took out the beam sword, and rushed over with the body spinning. The 2 beam swords of the night sky mech chopped down on his head, and Xia Xingchen waved his alloy shield and rushed straight up. With the help of the inertia of high-speed flight and the power of the rotation of the mech, the night sky mech was knocked away, lost its balance, and the body leaned back, revealing an empty door. Xia Xingchen took advantage of the situation and stabbed into the cabin with a sword. After a violent explosion, the system popped up a subtitle: Test passed, score S level. Xia Xingchen breathed a sigh of relief. After passing this second level, less than 2% of people are left, and these people will fight against each other tomorrow. This is not just a matter of personal strength, but also factors such as mecha performance, opponent strength, luck, etc., which will directly affect the assessment results. Chapter 52 Final Assessment. The Mecha Masters who passed the second stage of the assessment were notified that they could bring their mechas to the dock of Changli 18, board the corresponding mecha transport ships according to the instructions, and be sent to different practical examination sites. Due to the dense population of the capital star, individuals are not allowed to drive mechas around at will. The mechas and common weapons of these mecha masters are all loaded in standard-sized mecha transport containers, and the mechas are sent to the transport ships by professional transport vehicles. The examination site that Xia Xingchen was drawn was Changli 30. The volume of this satellite is only half the size of Chang'e 18, and the location is unexpectedly on the other side of Chang'e star. The satellite numbers of Chang'e star are arranged according to the size of the satellite. There are a total of 100 mechas on this intermediate transport ship, all stored in the cargo hold, and the mecha masters are in a large living room on the ship. They will spend these hours of journey together. What surprised Xia Xingchen was that many of the pilots who took the exam knew each other, and the largest number of them came from Watchstar and the Northern Administrative District Army. Several of them gathered together and chatted with each other in a low voice. Xia Xingchen sat on a sofa in a corner. Pretending to meditate, he secretly entered the state of insight. The living room of the transport ship is not big, and the inside skill covers every corner. Now the size of the Northern Fleet is twice as large as it was 3 years ago. A large number of main battleships have been commissioned. I heard that a heavy space carrier will be commissioned soon. With this guy, the strength of our Northern Fleet will surpass the first fleet of the galaxy. More than one. I heard that the fleet is still expanding. There are plenty of opportunities, and we must seize them. Hey, brothers all think so. So if you are drawn into a group, don't hold back. Show your true skills, but don't let outsiders get away with it. Pointer. Group of mecha divisions from the Northern Fleet of the Northern Administrative Region Army were chatting. Have you heard that Lord Bagugu is crazy and requires instructors of each team to double the training intensity? When I left, some people were exhausted to death. Yes, it is said that Lord Yuri has issued a death order to increase harassment of the military. Why are those Ice Wolf mechas not allowed to be used? There are more than 20 of them. If they are all deployed, won't the quicksand base be destroyed? Hey, it's all the fault of the quicksand base. I heard that 4 Ice Wolves attacked their convoy and were destroyed by 1 ranger. I heard that when you reach D level, you can leave that damn place called Watchstar. It is said that you can also join the regular army with very generous treatment. I can't wait. You are fucking crazy. This is a secret. If Lord Batangu finds out, be careful to feed you to the sandworms. A group of mecha masters from Watchstar whispered. From their conversation, it can be guessed that they are all sand bandits, and they are all from the reptile gang. They seem to be brewing some conspiracy. Xia Xingchen used his spiritual sense to scan these people one by one. Except for one person, there was nothing special about the others. The person who made Xia Xingchen feel special was a blonde man with very white skin, blue eyes, a high nose bridge, and in his early 20s. He was very handsome, but he had a kind of indifference that kept people at a distance. The man was wearing a military uniform and had the rank of second lieutenant. Judging from the armband, he was from the Northern Fleet. He didn't talk to anyone after he got on board. He sat there quietly meditating, and when Xia Xingchen's mental power swept over him, he was startled and glanced around, but didn't find anything. At this time, several soldiers from the Northern Fleet recognized the man. Look, isn't that Second Lieutenant Andrei, the Siberian wolf? If any of us encounter him, we should just admit defeat, otherwise we will surely die. Yes, I heard that he never holds back during training, and those who fight him will either die or be seriously injured, and he can tie with a C-class mecha master. It seems that this is a strong opponent. Xia Xingchen thought to himself. A few hours later, the transport ship finally arrived at Chang'e 30. Various transport vehicles were busy transporting the mechas to the assessment site. The 100 contestants got off the transport ship and entered a large lounge. The numbers of the 100 people appeared on the big screen in the lounge. After a series of rolls, the numbers divided the 100 people into 25 groups of 4. The grouping results came out, and Xia Xingchen's pupils contracted violently when he saw the results. Andrei's name was written next to his name. Xia Xingchen also remembered the other 2 people in the same group. One was a sand bandit from the reptile gang, and the other was a soldier from the Northern Fleet. The final assessment of the 100 people was held in 5 different venues. The mecha masters followed the system's reminders and went out to fight one by one. Andrei's opponent was the soldier from the Northern Fleet, but the soldier saluted and gave up. Andrei won without a fight. Xia Xingchen was very sorry that he lost an opportunity to find out the opponent's details. Then it was Xia Xingchen's turn to compete with the sand bandit from the reptile gang. The sand bandit did not bring a mecha. For such players, the assessment organizers provided 50 general purpose mechas. They can fill in their requirements when they sign up, and the mecha will be sent directly to the test site. The Sand Bandit on the opposite side chose the Sickle Demon mecha. It is said that Campbell, the number one thug in the reptile gang, has an elite team of 13 people, all equipped with Scythe Demon mechas. It seems that this Sand Bandit is either a member of the elite team or a reserve member of the elite team. The Scythe Demon mecha is 5.0 meters high, with parameters of strength 11, agility 13, and armor 9. This mecha adopts a lot of hollow structures and skeletal designs, which greatly reduces the weight, and is very fast. It is very suitable for use in the gravity environment of Watchstar. The weapon is a long-handled thermal sickle and 2 small machine guns on the shoulders. The door of the assessment site open to both sides. This is a cylindrical site with a diameter of 1000 meters and a height of 50 meters. There is an exit at each end of the site. The gate opened, and 2 mechas entered the site. The public communication frequency of the mecha was connected, and the 2 mecha masters could talk directly. As soon as the Sand Bandit saw the desert knight, he knew that this mecha was not easy to mess with. So he said ruthlessly, "Boy, my grandfather is a Sand Bandit. I have killed dozens of mechas from the famous reptile gang and the army. If you admit defeat and surrender now, I will spare your life." His words were both to intimidate the opponent and to give himself courage. Haha. What a coincidence. I'm also from Watchstar, and I'm from the Quicksand base. Sooner or later, we will have a battle. Xia Xingchen said. Huh, then you don't have to go back. Anyway, you will be killed. It's the same everywhere. As he said that, he started the mecha and rushed towards the desert knight. Xia Xingchen stepped on the power pedal and held the sword in his right hand. The mecha was fully powered. Just when the 2 mechas were about to touch, Xia Xingchen said, "I forgot to tell you that I killed all 4 dire wolves by myself." The pupils of the Sand Bandit shrank violently. He was frightened by the news and paused for a moment. But in this pause of a few tenths of a second, the desert knight easily avoided the Scythe Demon slash and stabbed the beam sword into the Sickle Demon's cockpit. A violent explosion liberated the sinful soul. Although it doesn't count as a victory, it's really a happy thing to be able to kill the Sand Bandit. Xia Xingchen was filled with joy. Chapter 53, Wolf on the Ice Field. Xia Xingchen got off the mech, checked it carefully, and finished charging it before returning to the hall. At this time, someone stopped him. "You are very strong. I can't see through you." Andre stared at Xia Xingchen. "You are also very strong." Xia Xingchen said. "Are you interested in coming to the Northern Fleet? As long as you admit defeat, even if you don't have the qualification of a D-class mech master, you will still be reused." Andre wanted to recruit him. "I'm sorry, I have always been like this. What belongs to me, no one can take it away, no matter who he is." Xia Xingchen's attitude was very tough. "I want to remind you that there is only one result for those who were defeated by me, that is, death. Oh, there are a few exceptions, but they are worse than death now." Andre's eyes radiated cold light. "So what, isn't it enough to defeat you? Then let's fight to the death tomorrow." Andre was very angry. "Goodbye, I won't see you off." The next day, the second round of the 3rd stage of the D-Class Mecha Master Assessment began. The winner of this round will directly obtain the qualification of the D-Class Mecha Master. The gate of the assessment site opened, and a silver-white mecha appeared on the site. Ice Wolf Mecha, height, 5.2 meters. Ice Wolf Mecha modified. Parameters, strength 16, agility 16, armor 16, speed 18. It has strengthened the engine and weapon system on the basis of the Ice Wolf. It has been fully replaced with alloy armor. The weight is about the same as the Ice Wolf, but the armor strength is almost doubled. Sitting in the cockpit of the Ice Wolf, Andre felt that he had become an Ice Wolf, the king of the ice field. His thoughts drifted away briefly, drifting to more than 10 years ago. Siberia, the capital of the Northern Administrative Region. This planet has a cold climate, and still retains a large area of virgin forest. On the shoulders of a mecha, there stood 2 figures, one large and one small. They were watching a group of grey ice wolves hunting in the distance with telescopes. A sturdy bison was surrounded by hungry wolves. A dire wolf tried to attack, But the bison shook its head and the horn sent the wolf flying 3 or 4 meters away. The wolf fell to the ground, and its internal organs flowed out. The second wolf rushed forward, and was sent flying again. Uncle Nicholas, why did the wolves rush forward regardless of everything, even though they knew they would die? The 8-year-old Andre looked innocent like a doll. Because they want to survive. In this big forest, covered with ice and snow, it is just like our Siberia, barren and backward. In order to survive, the wolf pack must fight. Even if they know they will die, they must not be afraid at all and must fight. Only in this way can they have a glimmer of hope. The long-haired man answered. The wolves kept attacking, and the bison was wounded and a little exhausted. At this time, a silver-white figure rushed out of the wolf pack like lightning and bit the bison's neck. This was a large silver-white wolf, and the size of this wolf was almost twice that of other wolves. The powerful inertia knocked the bison to the ground. At this time, the wolves rushed forward, ripping the bison's belly with their sharp teeth and claws. The wolves frantically tore the bison's internal organs. There were also hungry direwolves that began to eat their companions' bodies. A larger direwolf greedily chewed the best meat on the bison, not noticing that their leader had approached. The big wolf stared at it, baring its teeth and guarding its food. Awu, the silver-white big wolf, was enraged. It pounced on the grey wolf, knocked it to the ground, bit the grey wolf's throat, and then used its claws to scratch the grey wolf's belly. The grey wolf struggled for a few times and stopped moving. The silver-white big wolf chewed the grey wolf's body with big mouthfuls, and its silver-white hair was dyed blood red. It howled to the sky, and the wolves followed it to issue the declaration of the forest overlord. Uncle Nicholas, why did the white big wolf kill its companions? Andre asked. Because it is a demon wolf, the king of wolves. As a king, you cannot be afraid of any opponent, and you cannot be afraid of facing any challenge. For the weak, even if it is a companion, you must tear it to pieces. And in order to survive, even if it is the corpse of a companion, you must eat it. The man's expression was serious, and he was intimidating without anger. His momentum was very similar to that of the silver-white wolf king. Then I will also be the wolf king. Tear up all opponents. Andre said. There was a hint of fanaticism and determination in his eyes. Then you should grow up quickly, my little Andre. The appearance of the ice wolf mech is more like a werewolf. Its body is humanoid, with a curled spine, as if it is ready to pounce on its prey at any time, and the head of the mech is in the shape of a wolf's head. It ran at a very fast speed. 6 alloy claws stretched out from its 2 arms. The ice wolf mech is not equipped with a shield. Its 4 arms are designed to be very thick, with alloy claws hidden inside the arms, and a thick alloy armor plate on the outside of the arms, which acts as a shield. Facing such an opponent, Xia Xingchen did not dare to be careless at all, and he quickly entered the state of insight. The 2 mechas were getting closer and closer, and the wolf head of the ice wolf suddenly opened, and inside was a laser cannon, and a ball of light shot out from it. When Xia Xingchen observed the opponent's mecha, he found that the proportion of the ice wolf's head was much larger than that of the ordinary ice wolf mecha. This change in appearance, in addition to bringing some oppression and visual impact to the opponent, will have some subtle effects on the agility and coordination of the mecha. The only explanation for adopting such a design is that there may be other devices inside, so he was doubly careful about it. When he saw the wolf head open its mouth, he had already started to operate the mecha to dodge. Otherwise, even if he could see through the opponent's movements through insight, it would not be as fast as the speed of light. Ordinary laser weapons shoot out beams of light, relying on high temperature and high energy, to melt and detonate the opponent's mecha. The laser cannon of the ice wolf uses the latest scientific and technological achievements of Northern Heavy Industries, a famous military enterprise in the Northern Administrative Region. They use special technology to compress light energy into a light ball. When the light ball hits the opponent, it not only releases high temperature, but also causes a violent explosion. Moreover, the laser is shot out in a straight line, while the flight trajectory of the light ball can be varied, making it difficult for the opponent to defend against it. The desert knight suddenly jumped to a height of 6 or 7 meters, and the light ball hit its feet, blasting a large hole with a diameter of more than 1 meter in the ground. At this time, the desert knight was flying in midair, slashing down with the beam sword in his right hand. The Ice Wolf originally wanted to take advantage of the chaos caused by the explosion of the light ball to launch a sneak attack, but the Desert Knight's series of dodging, acceleration, and volleying were done in one go. The Ice Wolf hurriedly crossed his arms in front of him. With a swish, sparks flew. A black mark was cut on the wolf's arm, but fortunately the alloy armor plate was not completely split, and the two mechas fought back and forth. Chapter 54, Lifelong Enemy. Andre had never met such an opponent before. The opponent knew him too well. It seemed that his every move would be seen through by the opponent, and then he would be easily avoided or attacked by the opponent's weakness of his mecha, forcing him to save himself. Just now, the right arm of the magic wolf was cut by a sword, and the durability of the right arm was only 40%. If another sword was cut at a similar position, the right arm would be useless. The two fought together for more than 30 minutes. At this time, both of them were almost at their limit physically and mentally. Andre's head was a little swollen, which was a manifestation of excessive use of mental power. At this time, he thought of the wolf pack again. In the great forests of Siberia, there was no food in winter. Some wolves even tore off the meat of their hind legs and ate it in exchange for a glimmer of life in order to survive. Yes, I'm a wolf and I'm the Wolf King. I can't lose. I must do whatever it takes to win, even if I have to be a little cruel to myself. Thinking of this, he made up his mind. He took the initiative to swing his claws to attack again. The Desert Knight took a step back and swung his sword to slash at the upper arm of the Ice Wolf. There was no armor there, and the forearm could not stop it. This has happened many times, and each time the wolf mech tried its best to dodge, but this time it failed to dodge. The beam sword cut through the Ice Wolf's arm like cutting tofu, and the wolf's right arm fell to the ground. Opportunity. The Desert Knight took the opportunity to step forward and swung his sword at the other hand of the demon wolf. Now, Andre gritted his teeth. At this moment, something strange happened. The arm that was originally cut off and fell to the ground suddenly burst into flames from the base of the forearm. There were two miniature rocket engines there. The forearm shot out instantly like a missile, and three alloy claws stretched out and pierced directly into the left shoulder of the Desert Knight. Then the left shoulder of the Desert Knight exploded, and the left arm and shield fell to the ground. At this time, taking advantage of the unstable center of gravity of the Desert Knight, the mecha deflected. The forearm of the demon wolf's right arm also shot out, and three claws instantly pierced into the right arm of the Desert Knight. There was another explosion, and the right arm of the Desert Knight also fell to the ground. Both mechas lost their arms and stood opposite each other. Ha 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 ha, look at what you look like, without an arm. Let's see what you can do. If you have the guts, come and kick me to death. Andre panted and taunted. Aren't you the same? I don't know where your sense of superiority comes from. Xia Xingchen hit back without any hesitation. Haha, I'm a wolf. Wolves have teeth, he said. The head of the Ice Wolf stretched forward half a meter. The wolf's mouth opened, and the muzzle of the electric cannon inside shrank. The electric cannon immediately lit up, and the barrel turned out to be the hilt of a 2-meter-long electric sword. At this time, the head of the magic wolf turned as flexibly as a wrist, waving the electric sword. Come on, let me show you my special move. I can dance with a sword even without arms. Andre roared, controlling the mecha, and the head of the mecha waved the beam sword like an arm, and rushed towards Xia Xingchen. He didn't have much energy left, and he had to fight quickly. The two mechas staggered each other again. They were about to pass each other. The Desert Knight raised his knee, and it looked like he was preparing to attack with his knee. The beam sword in the mouth of the Ice Wolf slashed at the Desert Knight's knee, and the electric sword easily passed above the knee joint, and half of the Desert Knight's left leg was removed. Haha, there's only one leg left. Come and step on me. Andre fell into ecstasy and began to fantasize about how to torture Xia Xingchen. A smile flashed across Xia Xingchen's mouth. He deliberately let the sword cut his legs. Due to inertia, the two mechas crossed each other and moved forward. At this time, the flying wings that had been hidden behind the Desert Knight suddenly opened. The edge of the flying wing parallel to the ground flashed red, and the entire flying wing became an electric sword, cutting the Ice Wolf in half horizontally. The Ice Wolf exploded violently. Its cockpit design was different from that of ordinary mechas. It was located on the upper back of the mecha. At this time, the cockpit was half ejected and was pushed dozens of meters away by the violent explosion. It fell heavily to the ground and almost became a pile of scrap metal. At this time, the Desert Knight spread his wings, relying on the thrusters on his body to maintain balance, and stood on one leg on the ground. The results of the third stage of the competition were jointly determined by the main control computer of the test site and 3 air-level mecha masters. Given that the Ice Wolf had exploded at this time, while the Desert Knight still had power and the mecha master was safe and sound, it was unanimously determined that Xia Xingchen won. At this time, a large number of staff rushed to the scene and began to clean up the wreckage of the mecha. The emergency personnel cut open the deformed demon wolf cockpit and dragged out Andre, who was covered in blood and unconscious. At this time, his body was as soft as noodles, and most of his bones were broken. Xia Xingchen forced himself to be alert and stared at the staff. He put all the wreckage of the Desert Knight into the mecha transport container and then went to the official designated hotel to rest with peace of mind. He could already imagine how angry Father Free would be if he saw the Desert Knight in this state. But at the moment, he had no time to think about these things because he was now lying on the floor of the room and fell asleep. A high-speed heavy cruiser with the logo of the Northern Fleet came into the spaceport of Changwei 30. At this time, Andre, who had just undergone preliminary first aid, was not completely out of danger. He was sent to this cruiser and placed in a biological repair chamber for repair. Not long after, the cruiser hurriedly left the Chang'an starfield and headed towards the Siberian starfield. It hurts. Ouch. My neck. Xia Xingchen woke up slowly and found himself lying on the floor. His back was sore and his neck would not move. He glanced at his personal terminal and found that it was already 2 days later. He had no idea what happened after the competition. He inserted his registration card into the consultation machine on the wall, and an email popped up in his personal mailbox. It reminded him that he had passed the D-level Mecha Master exam, and the examination center required him to go to Changwei 18 to pick up his certificate 3 days after the exam. Xia Xingchen had a full meal to replenish his lost physical strength, took a shower, changed into clean clothes, and began to meditate. As a result, this meditation surprised him. It turned out that his mental power level had reached level 19. It seems that the exhaustion of mental power and the battle of life and death have had a great impact on his growth. The next day, he brought the wreckage of the mecha. He came to Changwei 18. At the assessment center, after a series of procedures such as filling out forms, taking photos, and archiving, he finally got a yellow card. This is a D-level Mecha Master certificate, and this information will also be recorded on his identity card and in his file. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 The Mastermind. Looking at the small yellow card in his hand, Xia Xingchen couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Just this one thing is what many Mecha Masters dream of. How many Mecha Masters have devoted their life's efforts and even their lives for it? Xia Xingchen shook his head. He was helpless. At this time, he walked out of the building of the assessment center and saw the yellow card in his hand. A large group of specespicians from major forces surrounded him again. Come and join our Northern Fleet. Money, status, promotion opportunities, everything you want is available. The owner of the South Pole Star region mine is recruiting people with generous treatment. Those who are interested should come quickly. He thought of the abnormal events encountered during this exam and couldn't help but frown. He connected the information he had mastered and felt that there seemed to be a big conspiracy here. But he was just a soldier after all, with limited experience, and he had just walked out of the poor and remote areas like Manastar. There were some things that he couldn't confirm, even if he guessed them. Xia Xingchen ordered a beer in the bar in the spaceport of Changwei 18, thinking about where to go next, and it would be best to find a place to deal with the mecha. At this time, a huge figure in the space came into view. It was a huge heavy space carrier, the Thor's Hammer, the flagship of the 1st Squadron of the 3rd Fleet of the Empire. Haha, that's it. Xia Xingchen jumped up happily. Vice Admiral von Klorsch led the fleet to carry out the mission and passed through the Chang'an Star region on the way back. He felt that the soldiers had been very hard recently, so he decided that the fleet would stop at Chang'an Star for supplies and let the soldiers of the fleet have some fun on Chang'an Star. At this time, he was looking at the information in the captain's office. Suddenly, the command center sent an application saying that someone asked to board the Thor's hammer. He wanted to see Vice Admiral von Klorsch, and this person used the communication code of the Thor's hammer. Agree to let him board the ship. Von Klorsch replied. 3 hours later, von Klorsch met Xia Xingchen in the captain's office. Report to the commander. Sergeant Xia Xingchen is here to report. It turns out to be you. I remember you were serving on Watchstar? Von Klorsch said. He still had some impression of this little guy. Report to the commander. I'm here to take the qualification test for D-class mecha pilot. Oh, how is the result? Xia Xingchen took out the yellow card, and von Klorsch was a little moved. More than half a year ago, this child was still a minor who knew nothing, and he just helped him out of interest. Who knew that now? He is already a recognized pilot. What is your purpose of boarding the ship this time? Asked the Lieutenant General. Report to the commander. I met a very strong opponent in this assessment. As a result, my mecha was seriously damaged. I want to borrow the repair workshop on the ship to repair the mecha. No problem. Our maintenance technicians are very powerful. You just send the mecha up and let them handle the rest. Report to the commander. This is my personal mecha. I assembled it myself. It's not that I don't trust the pilots of your ship. I think it's more appropriate for me to assemble it myself. Xia Xingchen explained. Can you also repair mecha? Fun. Klorsch's eyes lit up. He was a little bit unbelievable. In less than a year, this kid's growth rate was too amazing. Yes, sir. I met a very outstanding mecha maintenance master in the Watchstar Quicksand base. I learned a lot from him. Okay, I will see how good your maintenance skills are then. Fun. Klorsch squeezed out a rare smile. In addition, sir, the Quicksand base where I'm now is facing a very big crisis. This time I came to take the exam and found some very abnormal phenomena. I combined these phenomena and got a very scary conclusion. This conclusion seriously troubles me, and I want to find someone to help me solve it. Oh. So, you go and get the mecha first, and we will talk about your doubts in detail in the evening. Yes, sir. It was late at night. This was von Klorsch's private cabin. The two sat on the sofa, tasting red wine, and Xia Xingchen told von Klorsch about his experience in the past year. The Lieutenant General listened with relish. However, when he heard Xia Xingchen talk about his experience during this exam, he couldn't help but frowned. You said you came to a conclusion. What is this conclusion? Tell me about it. Von Klorsch said. General, this conclusion is a bit shocking. I can't prove it now. But you can tell me. My conclusion is that Watchstar is a training base used by a very large force to train D-level pilots. The reptile gang of Watchstar is their Spokesperson. Their pilots come from other sand bandits annexed by the reptile gang, as well as those pilots who failed the D-level assessment. And our garrison on Watchstar is their whetstone. At this point, Xia Xingchen felt very angry. This force provides the sand bandits with a large amount of personnel, funds, and weapons and equipment. I also have a suspicion that this force provides the sand bandits with a device that can protect them from attacks by stinging scorpions and sandworms. Moreover, I suspect that our satellite system has been invaded by the sand bandits, and our military's every move on Watchstar is under their surveillance. That's why they can find the weakest link in our defense again and again, and we encircle them. They can always escape at the most appropriate time. While listening, von Klorsch tapped the armrest of the sofa with his fingers rhythmically. You continue to analyze, he said. Regarding the forces behind the sand bandits, they can get a large number of military armors in service, and they need a large number of mecha divisions, which means that they are expanding rapidly. Through my understanding of the scale of talent recruitment by major forces this time, there is only one black hand behind the scenes, the Northern Fleet. Or, the big boss of the Northern Administrative Region, Prince Nicholas. Xia Xingchen finally expressed his speculation. How many people have you told this to? Von Klorsch suddenly asked. You are the only one. Xia Xingchen replied. That's good. This matter involves too many things. Don't tell anyone about it, even the people who are closest to you. Telling them this will harm them, and they will be silenced. Von Klorsch said solemnly. General, I'm just making random guesses, based on what I saw. I haven't verified it, so I won't tell anyone. I came to you this time with the purpose of verifying this matter. Von Klorsch smiled bitterly. Just a guess? I can only tell you that your guess is probably true. The Galactic Empire is probably going to be in chaos. The Von Klorsch family holds a high position and is an important general in the military. They are well aware of some secrets of the Galactic Empire's political arena. When Prince Nicholas first met this man, he saw ambition in his eyes. Von Klorsch knew very well. This man will sooner or later become an enemy of the Empire. Chapter 56 Father and Son. I'm surprised that you actually defeated Andre. Von Klorsch exclaimed. Andre is the adopted son of Prince Nicholas. His father was once Nicholas's top general and an S-class mecha master. Later, he died in battle to protect Nicholas. Nicholas himself is an S-class mecha master. He has carefully trained Andre since he was a child. Andre also became one of the 8 most outstanding young mecha masters of the younger generation of the Empire. What Von Klorsch didn't expect was that Xia Xingchen actually encountered Andre in the test, and what he didn't expect was that he actually defeated Andre. You already know the answer. But don't worry, the Watchstar garrison belongs to our 3rd fleet. I will never tolerate such behavior of harming our comrades. Go down and have a good rest. I will watch you repair the mecha tomorrow. Yes, sir. Good night. Xia Xingchen said, turning around and leaving. After Xia Xingchen left, Von Klorsch connected to the secret communication channel. A minute later, a very majestic old man appeared on the screen. Your Excellency, Grand Marshal, I have an urgent matter to report to you. Von Klorsch said. Can't you just call me father? The old man's tone was full of aura of majesty. This old man was the Grand Marshal of the Galactic Empire Military von Bismarck. The 7 fleets of the Galactic Empire must obey his command and jurisdiction. Yes, father. Von Klorsch replied awkwardly. Marshal von Bismarck had a long military career and made outstanding military achievements. He had a total of 8 sons, and Von Klorsch was his 3rd son. Among his sons, Von Klorsch was the smartest and most talented in military affairs. Whether in terms of military command ability or control of the overall situation, Von Klorsch had the strongest ability. Marshal von Bismarck hoped that he could enter the Galactic Empire military and hoped to train him well so that he could take over in the future. Who knew that this kid threw out a sentence, the most powerful soldiers are honed on the battlefield. Then he secretly ran to the grassroots unit and started as a soldier, step by step to the present, becoming the commander of the squadron. But because of this incident, the father and son had a very bad relationship. Von Klorsch knew his father's communication frequency, but he had never contacted him. This time, he used this right. Tell me, what happened? Von Klorsch explained the details of the incident. It seems that the old fox Nicholas can't help but want to take the position. He has been planning for more than 10 years, and now he has finally lost his patience. This is a good thing. But now there are many people in the cabinet who have been bribed by him, so it is not convenient to have a full-scale confrontation. But you have to knock him down. This is necessary, so that he won't stretch his claws too long. I understand, father. Also, the little guy you found is very interesting. It seems that he is not an ordinary person. You can train him well. Von Klorsch nodded. Also, next time you pass by Shiny and Star, go home for dinner. The mecha repair factory of Thor's hammer is comparable to a small military factory. There is even a mecha production line here. In front of a mecha repair operation table, the desert knight with only one leg left was fixed there, looking very miserable. The left leg was not bad. It was cut off by the beam sword, and the incision was very neat. The two shoulder components of the mecha were almost blown to pieces, which was enough to show how tragic the battle was. Xia Xingchen did not use a computer to check or look at the design drawings. He directly put on the universal mecha maintenance arm and began to dismantle the mecha. It's too messy. At least you should use a computer to check it first to be more sure. This is the standard process. You don't follow it. A maintenance technician who was watching said. But what he didn't understand was that Xia Xingchen who entered the inside state, was integrated with the mecha. He knew very well which part of the mecha was broken and the degree of damage. So why bother? However, as Xia Xingchen's speed became faster and faster, these technicians put away their contemptuous attitude. They saw that Xia Xingchen was not messing around. Every move he made had a special rhythm. It only took 65 minutes for the Desert Knight to be disassembled into scattered basic parts, one pile of which was intact and the other pile was damaged. Xia Xingchen picked up the writing board, made a list of the parts he needed and the corresponding performance indicators, and handed it to the general's adjutant. "General, thank you for your help. I have written down the parameters of the required accessories above. If you really can't find accessories that meet the parameter requirements, you only need to meet the minimum parameter requirements. The cost will be charged to the account of the quicksand base. What do you think of me, kid? The information you sent this time is very important. In this way, all the accessories will be the best. I will pay for it as a reward for you." Chang'an Star is indeed prosperous, and there are many people who own private mechas. It is effortless to purchase these accessories. In just one day, all the accessories were purchased. Xia Xingchen reassembled the Desert Knight in just one day under the astonished eyes of those mecha maintenance technicians. The only regret is that there is no spray paint carefully prepared by Father Free, so he can only respray a layer of ordinary stealth and heat insulating spray paint. After the mecha was repaired, Xia Xingchen was invited to participate in the joint training of the ship's mecha brigade. In the space battle, Xia Xingchen fought evenly with several C-class mecha masters. They invited him to join the Thor's Hammer Air Combat Brigade, but he refused, because he still had his concerns on the distant Watchstar. Chapter 57 Return. 5 days have passed, and the first squadron of the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire has finished its rest, and is about to rush to the fleet base in the Luban Star region. When they parted, Von Klorsch sent a Glorious class heavy mecha cruiser Repulse to transport Xia Xingchen. The Glorious class is a space battleship with excellent independent combat capabilities. It has fierce firepower, thick armor, strong endurance, and can carry 50 mechas. General Von Klorsch also has his purpose for sending the Glorious class heavy cruiser. First, they will send military police to Watchstar to investigate the insider and the invasion of the satellite system. Second, the cruiser will be stationed in the Watchstar region to fight against star pirates and space smugglers and completely cut off the North's material support to Watchstar. This move will greatly reduce the pressure on the Watchstar garrison such as the Quicksand base. Third, if Xia Xingchen needs it, this force can join the battle at any time. In addition, the military also took action. The military police department vigorously arrested star pirates and headhunters who recruited people to Watchstar at the Mecha Master examination centers in several major administrative regions. The government also produced a news film about the experiences of those Mecha Masters who were deceived to Watchstar. Some of them were sent to mine as slaves and deprived of their personal freedom. Others were buried in the mouths of sandworms and stinging scorpions. Others were forced to become interstellar pirates and then captured and executed by the military. This series of combined punches had just been launched, and a series of blows brought disaster to the sand pirates. And the root of all this was this small Mecha Master. The speed of the warship was much faster than that of the cargo ship. It took 15 days to come to Chang'an Star region, and only 7 days to return. During these 7 days, Xia Xingchen was not idle at all. He helped the Mecha Masters on the ship to adjust and modify the mecha. He felt that it was very necessary to have a good relationship with this group of comrades. The Repulse carried 50 mechas, including 30 night skies, 10 land-based mechas and 10 integrated mechas. In addition, there were 5 mecha slots on the battleship, carrying a private mecha belonging to Colonel Cross, the captain of the carrier base mecha squadron, and 2 engineering mechas. Watchstar, supply station. Sincere gave Bidangu a death order to increase the actual combat strength. Bidangu dared not disobey. He asked his men to harass the garrison on Watchstar at all costs for more than a month. Even this small supply station was harassed by multiple sand bandit mechas every day. There were originally 2 teams of 10 mechas stationed here, but the sand bandits attacked for 5 consecutive days, and the supply station suffered heavy losses. 7 mechas were damaged in the battle, and the remaining 3 were injured. If there is no support, the mechas at the supply station are likely to be wiped out in the next attack. So they urgently asked for help from the launch base and the quicksand base. The quicksand base held an emergency meeting. Their troops were stretched thin. The 05th and 07th squads were wiped out, and the other squads also lost 10 mechas, which was equivalent to the loss of 4 squads of troops in the entire base. Once the supply station was destroyed by the sand bandits, it would be too expensive to rebuild it, and without the supply station, the quicksand base would become an isolated island. So they had to send people to rescue. But now the base can't spare too many troops, and can only send 1 squad at most. However, this squad is undoubtedly a drop in the bucket, and the Mecha division participating in this mission can almost be said to be on the verge of death. Lieutenant Colonel Nickel was also very troubled by this. Which squad should be sent? I guess whoever is sent will hate himself. At this time, Lieutenant Tor stood up. Let's let the 06th squad go. After all, our strength is there. If the people who go are not strong enough, it will only increase casualties. He said this very impolitely, but the captains of the other squads were very grateful to him. But your squad only has 4 people. Nickel said. Count me in. Tor is right. It's useless to go if you don't have enough strength. The person who spoke was Freya. This is the only way now. Freya, you have to pay attention to safety, said Lieutenant Colonel Bessie, the captain of the Mecha Brigade. There is no time to lose. It's already 9 o'clock. You should quickly prepare, bring more ammunition, and set off early. You must get there before dark. Lieutenant Colonel Nickel ordered. Yes, sir. A few dozen minutes later, a tornado-heavy mecha, a bloody queen, and 3 rangers roared out of the base gate and headed straight for the supply station. Among them, Beric was originally driving the Storm long-range firepower output mecha, but the Storm was too large, heavy, and slow, and could not keep up with the team. Beric could only use the ranger to make up the number. When they arrived at the supply station, the battle had already started. One of the 3 mechas had been blown up, and the remaining 2 were in danger under the attack of the 5 mechas of the sand bandits. Get ready for battle. Haji gave the order. This is what makes Team 06 different from others. Other teams have their captains commanding the battles, and Lieutenant Tor's command level is also very high. However, Haji is simply a monster in terms of combat command and strategy, and Tor is a heavy assaulter, who often has to break through to the front and fight desperately, while Haji is a deputy sniper, or observer, and his position is more suitable for commanding operations. No need for you, leave it to me. Freya said. The Mecha engine was turned on to the maximum power, and the high power thrusters at the back sprayed out red particles, and a red light instantly shot out from the queue. It was Freya's mecha, the Bloody Queen. The Bloody Queen mecha, 4.8 meters high, is a custom-made mecha, the work of Father Free. Parameters: Strength 12, Agility 19, Armor 10, Speed 20. This mecha looks very much like a legendary creature, the succubus. The body is red, and the outer layer is also sprayed with Father Free's secret paint. There is a single-shot high-power red light thruster at the back, and 2 small variable angle thrusters. The weapons carried by the Bloody Queen mecha are 6 laser rapid-fire cannons. These rapid-fire cannons look as inconspicuous as the tentacles on the succubus, but once they suddenly fire in close combat, it is difficult for the opponent to dodge. 2 electric whips that can extend up to 10 meters, and a high-power laser cannon hidden in the tail. The mecha's feet and knees are also equipped with electric blades. At this time, the 5 mechas of the sand bandits were shooting at the gate of the supply base in a plum blossom shape. The Bloody Queen instantly rushed into the center of the 5 mechas, and the electric whips in her left and right hands entangled the laser rifles of 2 mechas respectively. The electric whips were instantly powered on, generating high temperatures, and the 2 laser rifles exploded instantly. The fragments produced by the explosion caused the mechas of the 2 sand bandits to be damaged to varying degrees. At this time, the other 3 mechas reacted and prepared to shoot at the Bloody Queen, but unfortunately they were too slow. The 6 laser rapid-fire cannons of the Bloody Queen mecha had already aimed at their 5 mechas. Only 5 shots were fired, and 5 red lights flashed. The cockpits of the 5 sand bandits mechas were hit. Under the background of the 5 explosions, the surface of the Bloody Queen mecha flashed scarlet light. This woman is really powerful, Beric exclaimed. There is no need to arrange tactics in the future. Let her go up and solve everything, Haji said. Such a fierce woman. I don't know what kind of man can subdue her. But such a woman is quite interesting, Perlo praised. Everyone, the public channel is not turned off. The depressed Captain Tora minded helplessly. Chapter 58, Encircled. When the 5 mechas of the 06 team drove into the yard of the supply station was in a gloomy mood. There were more than a dozen body bags on the ground. There were also the wreckage of 7 or 8 ranger mechas, which had been dismantled into pieces. The wall of the supply station was full of bullet holes, and the gate was half blown up, and could no longer be closed. It was enough to imagine how tragic the battle was. 5 people walked out of the mecha cockpit, and Freya glanced at the 4 of them with an unfriendly look. Captain Tor looked normal, but the other 3 were trembling with fear. There are too many legends about the Bloody Queen and the quicksand base. It is said that a blind boy wanted to tease the queen, and was kicked in the balls. In addition, they have seen with their own eyes that soldiers who disrespected the queen were beaten badly. At this time, in the base of the reptile gang under the Watchstar, Lord Bidangu, that supply base is almost destroyed, and there are only 2 or 3 mechas left. If we destroy it all at once, the quicksand base will become an isolated island. Lord Yuri will be very happy then, and it will also be of great help to our pilot's confidence. A minion was giving advice to Bidangu. You said yesterday that there were only 3 mechas left in that supply base, but none of the 5 mechas we sent today have returned. Bidangu said with an unhappy look. Think about it, most of the mecha pilots who can hold on to the end are quite capable. If you send a few mechas over, they will be easily called out one by one in the end. If dozens of mechas charge over together, they will be exhausted to death. The minion explained. Then do you think the quicksand base will send reinforcement? What if reinforcement come? Sir, don't be ridiculous. The quicksand base has suffered heavy losses, and is short of manpower. Who would come here to die? Okay, let's do this. Tomorrow we will send out 50 mechas. We will take down the supply station in one go. Batangu ordered. Haji and Perlo each guarded a corner of the watchtower, found a good position to install the mecha-specific sniper rifles, and waited for the arrival of the sand bandits. It was around 10 o'clock in the morning, and several black dots appeared on the Gobi Desert in the distance. The target is found in the southwest direction, 10 kilometers away. The number is unknown. Perlo discovered the mechas of the sand bandits and immediately alerted everyone in the base. He adjusted the shooting curvature of the laser sniper rifle and pulled the trigger. Two lasers flew towards the sand bandits 10 kilometers away. 2 balls of fire in the sight. Yeah, hit. 2. Perlo shouted happily. The sniper rifle was slowly charging. The energy consumption of the laser sniper rifle was very huge. In order to facilitate the sniper rifle to replenish energy, a cable extended from the base and directly connected to the energy box of the sniper rifle. 10 seconds later, the sniper rifle was full of energy, and another 2-shot burst destroyed 2 more mechas. Hey, that's not right. I've already shot down 4. Why are there still so many? Damn, so many? Exclamation mark. Perlo then realized that there were dozens of mechas in the site. He hurriedly pressed the first level alarm button. All the staff at the supply station became nervous. Lieutenant Tor's Hurricane Mecha was guarding the gate, and the 2 alloy shields of the Mecha blocked the broken part of the gate. Beric's Ranger Mecha was lying on the top of the wall, and the laser rifle was also adjusted to long-range shooting mode. Seeing their companions' mechas being sniped, the mechas of the sand bandits quickly dispersed and approached the supply station from all directions, which also increased the difficulty of sniping them. At this time, Perlo had destroyed 8 mechas, and Beric had also killed 1. The mechas of the sand bandits are rarely equipped with mecha laser rifles, because they are very expensive, energy intensive, and expensive to repair and maintain. They mainly use mecha shotguns and machine guns. The power of more than 10 shotguns and machine guns firing at the same time cannot be underestimated. Seeing that the opponent's firepower was very fierce, Haji and Perlo were forced to give up sniping, and the mecha turned over and jumped back to the supply station. At this time, everyone used the wreckage of the mecha as a cover to shoot out from the damaged gate, but the opponent's firepower was too fierce, and the 06 team was suppressed and couldn't raise their heads. The small supply station was surrounded by more than 40 mechas of the sand bandits. Their attack was very orderly, and it seemed that the commander was quite good. There were 20 mechas surrounding the gate, alternating to cover and suppress firepower. Not far behind them, there was even a large transport vehicle to deliver ammunition to them. The remaining 20 mechas surrounded them, watching the situation of the supply station vigilantly. If a mecha jumped out of the wall at this time, it would be attacked like a storm. 10 minutes ago, in space, the heavy mecha cruiser Repulse slowly approached the low Earth orbit of Watchster. At this time, Xia Xingchen was eager to return home. He did not plan to go to the space station first and then take the landing craft, which was a waste of time. The cruiser had a landing capsule dedicated to mechas, and he planned to airdrop directly to the quicksand base from space. However, before doing so, he must greet the base first, otherwise it would be a tragedy to be regarded as an invader and shot down by his own missiles. Quicksand, this is Xingchen. Xingchen requests to return to the team. I will use the mecha landing capsule to forcibly land. Xia Xingchen's call suddenly rang out in the command center. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Nickel had just learned that the supply base was approached by dozens of mechas, and he was worried about what to do. Xingchen, this is Meteor. Nickel grabbed the microphone again. There is a very urgent task. It is extremely urgent. Now your 06th Mecha squad is at the supply station, and there are more than 40 mechas of the sand bandits approaching them. Can you airdrop directly to support them? No problem, leave it to me, Xia Xingchen replied. He hurriedly found Colonel Kyle, the captain of the counterattack, and explained the situation to him. Captain Kyle immediately ordered the technicians to adjust the coordinates of the landing capsule's descent. At the same time, he instructed the aircrew to install a landing assault device on the desert night. It is a very dangerous thing to drive a mecha to forcibly land in the atmosphere. The mecha will face powerful anti-aircraft artillery fire in the landing capsule. It cannot fight back or dodge, and it is just a living target. When the mecha enters the atmosphere and leaves the landing capsule, it is very likely to face the danger of diving into the opponent's encirclement. So someone designed a mecha assault landing device. This device is to mount a large number of offensive weapons on the outside of the mecha in the landing capsule, such as anti-mecha missiles, rockets, and even aerial bombs. Use the inertia of the mecha's high-speed descent to form a saturation attack on the target or ambushed enemy. After the missiles, rockets, etc. are launched, the launcher and other devices are directly thrown away. The mecha can quickly adjust its state when the opponent is under saturation attack and enter the next round of attack. At this time, the cruiser Repulse was about to enter the designated position, and the fully armed Desert Knight mecha entered the landing cabin. At this time, the internal communication of the mecha was connected, and it was Captain Cross. Boy, just aim at the approximate position when launching the missile. It is too difficult to lock every target with a missile, and it requires too much mental strength. If you can't do it, don't worry about whether the anti-mecha missile can hit it. After all, the inertia is very large, and there is an automatic tracking system. But it should be noted that when the mecha reaches the specified height or the falling speed is too fast, you must release the launcher of the assault system in time, otherwise you will crash due to stall. Colonel Cross advised. Thank you, sir. I understand. Xia Xingchen saluted. The hatch at the bottom of the cruiser slowly opened, and a cylindrical metal object 8 meters long and nearly 6 meters in diameter was dropped into the atmosphere of Watchster. Watchster, supply station. At this time, the gate of the supply station had been completely destroyed by fierce artillery fire, and several scrap mechas that were blocked at the door as a shelter were almost flattened. At this time, Barracks Ranger mecha was shot in the head and legs, and lost its combat capability. Perlo's Ranger mecha had both legs broken, and now became a fixed turret. Only Haj's Ranger and Tor's Tornado mecha were still holding on, constantly looking for opportunities to counterattack a few shots. At this time, the 2 alloy shields of the Tornado mecha had been completely destroyed. There were bullet holes everywhere on the outer shell of the mecha, and the integrity of the mecha dropped to 20%. At this time, there were 34 mechas left of the sand bandits outside. Lieutenant Freer, you should break out in one direction at high speed. We are all at the end of the road. If we can kill one, we will break even. If we kill 2, we will still make a profit. Haji said. Yes, Queen. Don't worry about us. Just avenge me when you have a chance in the future. This is Perlo. Yes, everyone is right. Freya, it's not worth it for you to die here. Go quickly. Alas, it's a pity that I can't see that little guy again. Captain Tor's tone was a little lonely. However, the soldiers of the quicksand base have been aware of sacrifice since the day they arrived at the base. Freya was very depressed at this time. Her mecha was an agile close combat mecha. In this kind of intensive long-range weapon bombardment, her mecha was useless. It was always suppressed here by the artillery fire. She wanted to rush out to fight, but was rejected by Haji. Haji said that, if the other side attacked, the Bloody Queen would be more lethal in a small space. Ask her to be patient. Who knew that these people had already held the belief of sacrifice, and what she got in return for her patience was that they actually let her break through. Chapter 59 The Queen and the Knight. I won't abandon my comrades and live alone. Freya gritted her teeth. Although she was a woman, she also had her own stubbornness and innocence. Thinking of this, Freya stepped on the power pedal hard, the engine power was turned to the maximum, and the mecha rushed out from the wall on the other side of the gate. At this time, the Mechas of the sand bandits had been ambushing here for a long time, and no one had been seen breaking through. Their spirits were a little slack. At this time, a red figure flew out, and the mecha body was rotating at high speed. 2 high-speed rotating electric whips were like the saw blades of a chainsaw, directly cutting the 2 mechas in half. Moreover, the red mecha was constantly rotating, and the 6 laser rapid-fire cannons on the fuselage continuously fired deadly red lasers. 4 more mechas were instantly blown up, and another mecha was injured and lost its combat capability. At this time, the remaining more than 10 mechas reacted, and they all raised their guns and fired. Since most of the weapons of the sand bandits' mechas are shotguns, their ammunition covers a large area. In addition, these mecha masters are all desperate and will not consider whether the shooting will hit their teammates. In an instant, the Bloody Queen mecha's body was damaged in more than dozens of parts and fell to the ground, unable to move. A sand bandit mecha pulled out an alloy sword and slowly walked up. At this time, Freya pulled out a small keyboard next to her seat and entered a 6-digit password on it. The operating panel split to both sides and a red button popped up. This is a device that almost every military mecha has, but it is also the device that all mecha masters are most reluctant to use. Freya put her white fingers on this red button, waiting for the other mecha to approach, and then she would use the mecha's last means of attack, self-destruction. At this time, Freya's mind flashed through scenes of past memories. A little girl whose mother died very early. Her father is a military mecha master stationed at the Wachster space station. Although he is always busy, he loves his daughter very much. Freya grew up in the army, which made her character like a boy, strong and unwilling to admit defeat. Her father took her to play mecha when she was very young, and Freya was determined to become a mecha master. When she was 14 years old, her father was killed by the sand bandits of the reptile gang while performing a mission. Freya lost her last relative and was heartbroken. The deep hatred for the sand bandits was also engraved in her heart at this time. She passed the enlistment assessment with excellent results, and finally joined the army, and came to the quicksand base. Lieutenant Colonel Bercy, a friend of Freya's father, became her master. He taught her how to use mecha to eliminate the enemy, and how to fight more reasonably. The beautiful Freya is always the focus of men's eyes, but she is determined not to fall in love or consider personal problems before avenging her father. This made a large number of male creatures in the base heartbroken. Later, several blind soldiers wanted to force her, but they were severely taught a lesson by Freya, and one of the soldiers' eggs was kicked to pieces. Not only that, Freya was extremely brave in battle, and was very cruel to the enemy, so the legend of the Bloody Queen was born in the quicksand base. Later, a year ago, she accidentally met an interesting little guy. Freya, who never looked at men straight, actually developed a strong interest in this little boy. She liked to see him making trouble in the base, and growing up quickly. But it's useless to think about these things. Now I'm about to die. I haven't been in love yet, and it seems like a big loss. The mecha of the sand bandit has raised the alloy sword high. If anyone can come and save me now, I will definitely marry him. Every girl has a knight on a white horse in her mind. The landing capsule descended at high speed under the 2.3 g gravity of Overwatch. The intense friction between the black alloy shell and the atmosphere generated high temperature. The paint on the surface of the landing capsule evaporated quickly, taking away a lot of heat, but not long after, the entire shell of the landing capsule burned red. After a few minutes, the landing capsule passed through the dense atmosphere and fell at high speed. At this time, the shell of the landing capsule also cooled down rapidly. Then, the safety lock inside the landing capsule opened, and the entire capsule quickly decomposed into 4 petals, which bounced to the 4 sides, revealing the Desert Knight mecha in the middle. The Desert Knight spread his wings and adjusted his flight posture. The altitude kept dropping. 100,000 meters, 50,000 meters, 30,000 meters. At this time, the situation on the ground could be seen clearly. More than a dozen mechas of the sand bandits surrounded the gate of the supply station and continued to fire. Not far away, there were more than a dozen mechas surrounding a red mecha and exchanging fire. Xia Xingchen's mental power was running at high speed at this time. 10 anti-mecha missiles quickly locked onto the 10 mechas that besieged the gate of the supply station. The anti-mecha missiles sprayed flames and flew towards the mechas of the sand bandits with inertia. Then, he quickly released the missile launcher, adjusted the mecha's posture, unfolded the wings. The mecha's head was facing up, and its feet were facing down, and all the thrusters were fully opened downward. The Desert Knight slowed down his descent a little bit. At this time, he was less than 10,000 meters away from the ground when he saw a mecha of the sand bandits raising its sword to chop at the red mecha. The altitude had dropped to more than 3,000 meters. The momentum of the Desert Knight's descent had been stopped, and the mecha could hover in the air. He instinctively fired at the mecha of the sand bandits. Freya was about to self-destruct in despair when suddenly there was a violent explosion at the gate not far away, and a purple laser flashed in the sky, and the cockpit of the sand bandit mecha in front of her was blown up. At this time, a golden light flashed in the sky, and the Desert Knight dived. The body rotated downward, and the laser rifle in his hand shot out 10 lasers. This was another trick of Haji. 7 of the sand bandit mechas surrounding the red mech were hit instantly. The white light continued to dive, and when it was only a few hundred meters away from the ground, the 2 missile compartments mounted on the outside of the mecha's legs suddenly opened the lid, and the 80 macro anti-mech missiles loaded in them flew happily towards the few surviving sand bandit mechas. Each mech was hit by more than a dozen missiles, and the scene was immediately filled with smoke. At this time, there was no more sand bandit mech that could move on the ground. The Desert Knight hovered at a height of 30 meters and looked around. At this time, the dozen or so sand bandit mechas opposite the main entrance of the supply station had an even more miserable fate. The anti-mecha missiles were originally powerful, and with the huge inertia, the mechas that were hit exploded violently. Several nearby sand bandit mechas that were not hit were not spared and exploded. The transport vehicle loaded with ammunition turned into a large bomb. SHHH. The series of explosions just now had a serious impact on the radio wave communication, and it was only then that it returned to normal. Fuck, I'm alive again. Ha 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 ha. The scourge has lived for 1,000 years. Polo laughed up to the sky. I saved my life. It's a close call. Haji sighed. Xingchen, is it you? Tor asked. Brothers, I'm back. Looking at the figure in the air, Freya's eyes were moist. It turned out that he was my knight. Chapter 60, Reversal of the Situation. Freya sat blankly on the wall of the supply station, watching the Desert Knights helping the survivors clean up the ruins. His movements were so graceful that Freya was stunned. Lieutenant Tor drove the tornado mech, which was already riddled with holes, but still able to move. He picked up 2 alloy swords and slowly searched the scene. As long as he found the cockpit of the sand bandit mech, whether it was intact or damaged, he would go up and stab it with a sword. This is probably a way to vent after escaping death. Besides, the sand bandits are not a country, and they are not protected by the damn international law, interstellar law, and 20th convention. Veterinarian Perlo carried the first aid kit and began to rescue the wounded. At this time, in the command center of the quicksand base, Lieutenant Principal Nickel let out a sigh of relief and collapsed on the chair. Father Free, who got the news from Xia Xingchen, happily drank a few more bottles, and got himself drunk again. At this moment, in the underground base of the reptile gang, Yuri was talking to the cloaked man in a secret hut. Yuri, something terrible has happened. Our plan seems to have been exposed. The cloaked man said, what happened? Government media revealed that Overwatch's recruitment of mecha divisions is a big scam. Then all our headhunters in various places were arrested. In addition, the space station has suddenly stepped up its crackdown on smuggling and illegal immigration, and a heavy mecha cruiser is now stationed on the space station. Our recent equipment and material transportation must be suspended until the storm has passed. In addition, several of our secret agents lurking in the space station were also arrested by the damn military police. Yuri became anxious when he heard this. We have no people, no resources, and now we don't even have the intelligence advantage. What do you want me to use to train mecha divisions? Is it useful for you to tell me this? Do you think that adult will listen to your explanation? The resources given to you are enough, and now it's time for you to give back. The man in black said in a bad tone. Of course, I will try to explain to that adult that the difficulties are only temporary, but shouldn't you work harder, Yuri? Yes, I get it. Yuri had just come out of the HUD when his number one thug Campbell came up to him. Lord Yuri, something big happened. Campbell said anxiously. How many times have I told you that you must stay calm in the face of trouble? In Watchstar, we have the final say. What is there to be afraid of? Okay, tell me, what happened? Yuri took the opportunity to educate Campbell. Bidangu. He ordered his 50 mechas to attack the supply station of the quicksand base, but they were all destroyed and all the pilots were killed. Plus the one sent a few days ago. We lost 70 mechas there in just 3 days. Puff. Yuri spat out a mouthful of blood when he heard the news. Ah, it hurts to death. Bidangu. Campbell. Bidangu is handed over to you. I only have one request. Don't let him die too easily. Leave it to me. I promise to make his life worse than death. Campbell was secretly happy. He had wanted to kill Bidangu for a long time. 3 days later, the supply station welcomed a huge convoy. Dozens of large transport vehicles, multiple engineering mechas, and 30 mechas from 6 mecha teams. What's going on? Why is it such a big battle? Tor was puzzled and asked the person in charge of the convoy. 3 days ago, the military suddenly issued an order, strictly ordering the Overwatch Starfield garrison to eliminate all sand bandits entrenched in the Overwatch Star as soon as possible at all costs. So the first order of the general staff was to strengthen the strength of each base and supply station. The person in charge answered. 3 days later, a larger convoy arrived here. This convoy was escorted by 50 mechas of various colors from 10 mecha teams, and escorted 100 recruits who could operate military mechas. Their destination was the quicksand base. The next day, the 06th squad set out on their return journey. They borrowed a large transport vehicle, which carried the wreckage of the Bloody Queen and Taranger mechas. The convoy arrived at the quicksand base in the evening. At this time, the base was decorated with lights and colors. Except for the people on normal combat readiness duty, everyone came to the yard. Li Xiang's bar was already full at this time. Of course, they were not here to welcome the new recruits, but to welcome their heroes, the 06th Mecha squad that destroyed 55 mechas. In the yard, Lieutenant Colonel Nickel said a lot of nonsense to encourage and welcome the newcomers. While Captain Bearcy was giving a speech, he quietly came to Xia Xingchen and gave him a big hug. Welcome back, Xia Xingchen Lieutenant. Are you satisfied with this rank? Lieutenant Colonel Nickel teased. It's just so-so, that's all. Xia Xingchen shrugged. His promotion speed is really like riding a rocket. In the entire Third Fleet, few people have such a promotion speed. After saying goodbye to his teammates, Xia Xingchen operated the Desert Knight to get on the elevator and slowly went down to the 3rd floor underground. There was a mecha hangar dedicated to the Desert Knight in the mecha repair vehicle warehouse. Father Free heard the noise and ran out. Xia Xingchen excitedly jumped directly from the 3 or 4 meters high cockpit and hugged his father. Dad, I'm back. Xia Xingchen's eyes were filled with tears. He hadn't seen his father for nearly 2 months. He had a lot more wrinkles and looked much older. But, it's good to be back. Father Free patted his shoulder, his hands trembling slightly with excitement. At this time, Xia Xingchen seemed to remember something. He climbed back into the cockpit and took out two 10-kilogram sealed wine barrels from under the seat. Dad, this is the specialty of Chang'an Star, the famous wine Taipei Niang. I brought it back specially to honor you. Okay, good boy, you understand. Come, I'll make some good dishes, and you come and drink with me. Chapter 61, Mecha Upgrade and Transformation. When Xia Xingchen woke up, it was already noon. It seems that this Taipei wine is really a good thing. It is strong but not intoxicating. Look at the personal terminal at this time. A message came. Come to the team headquarters for a meeting at 6 o'clock in the evening. After having dinner early, Xia Xingchen came to the team headquarters and found that everyone was there. But there was one more person. Why is it strange? I'm now a non-staff member of the 06 team. Freya explained with a smile. The others were dumbfounded. Is this still the bloody queen who kills without blinking an eye and kicks the balls when she disagrees? Today's meeting mainly has the following things. The first is to read out the promotion order. As the importance of the quicksand base has become more and more prominent and the scale of the base has expanded by nearly half, the main military officers of the base have been promoted. Commander Nickel and Captain Bear C have been promoted to colonels. Due to the heroic performance of the 06 team and Freya this time, the ranks of the entire 06 team have been promoted by one level. Tor and Freya are both captains. Xia Xingchen was originally promoted to second lieutenant because he passed the D-class Mecha division assessment. With this meritorious service, he is now lieutenant. The second thing is to announce the vacation order. The Mecha of their team was seriously damaged and needed time to repair. The base also gave them 10 days of vacation, and everyone applauded to welcome them. Polo was especially happy, because there were more than a dozen young girls among the new recruits. The handsome Polo wanted to talk to them about life and ideals. Captain Tor was about to announce the adjournment of the meeting, when Xia Xingchen stopped them. Let me say a few words. This time, by participating in the D-class Mecha division level examination and participating in the battle at the supply station, I deeply felt the importance of equipment to a Mecha division. If I hadn't been driving the Desert Knight and equipped with the assault landing system, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to save you. Xia Xingchen concluded, and everyone nodded silently. Through this battle, we can find that if the Bloody Queen has some long-range attack methods, or the armor is thicker, if Polo's sniper rifle charges faster, if the Captain's Storm Mecha is stronger, if Beric's Storm Mecha runs faster, it will be much easier for everyone to catch up with this battle. Yes, indeed, that's right, everyone agreed. I'm a Mecha Master, but I'm also a Mecha Maintenance Technician. I learned a lot of Mecha modification techniques from Father Free, but my ability is limited, and I can't take care of our entire base, but it's no problem to solve the equipment upgrade of our team. I want to upgrade and modify the mechas of our team members. What do you think? This is a good thing. Of course we support it. The teammates unanimously agreed to this proposal, but my work requires your cooperation. There is a saying in our Mecha division circle, there is no best Mecha, only the most suitable Mecha. I need to understand the needs and operating habits of each of you, so, during the rest time these days, one of you will come to my maintenance warehouse every day, and we will discuss the modification plan in detail. I will try to complete all the modification work within a month. Of course, Freya's Mecha will take a little longer. After all, the damage is too serious, and there are too many places to change. Everyone agreed. Xia Xingchen started the upgrade and modification of the Mecha of the 06 team. The first thing to be modified is the Captain Tor's Hurricane Mecha. Hurricane Mecha, height 5.3 meters. Main parameters, strength 13, agility 12, armor 16. This is a heavy armored assault mecha with superior comprehensive performance. This mecha is equipped with 2 large alloy shields, 2 alloy giant swords, 2 small machine guns, and a mecha shotgun. The performance of the Hurricane mecha is very balanced, and it can be competent for combat in a variety of complex battlefield environments. But at the same time, balanced performance means that it is difficult to escape the embarrassment of being good at everything and poor at everything. For example, compared with other heavy mechas, its mecha protection is worse. Captain Tor's requirements are very simple. The mecha's protection is higher. The first thing Xia Xingchen has to solve is the shield problem. The Hurricane mecha is equipped with two alloy shields that are 3 meters long, 2 meters wide, 60 centimeters thick, and weigh tens of tons. 2 grooves were dug in the shield, and 2 alloy giant swords were inserted in the grooves. Xia Xingchen believes that these 2 giant shields are the culprits that restrict the performance of the Hurricane. First of all, the alloy material used in the shield is a common commodity. The protection performance is not very good, and the quality is average, so it has to rely on thickness to make up. In normal combat, the performance is not good, but in the battle at the supply base, the shield was soon blown up by dense firepower. Second, the pit design of hiding the sword in the shield saves space for the mecha, but it also reduces the strength of the shield. Third, the overly heavy shield also greatly affects the agility of the mecha and causes a lot of energy waste. This time, the expansion and upgrade of the quicksand base, along with the supply convoy, there are many advanced equipment. Among them is a very advanced material factory equipment. The core component of this equipment is a small metal smelting furnace, which can melt various metal minerals and add various materials to the metal solution to produce various alloys. The melted alloy material will be introduced into the 3D printing equipment to directly make various mecha parts, or introduced into the forging press to be pressed into high-strength plates. This set of equipment is expensive. After many calculations and experiments, Xia Xingchen and Father Free finally came up with the formula of 2 alloy materials. One of the alloys for armor is named HZ305 alloy. The protection and durability of the armor plate made of it are more than doubled compared with the armor of the previous Tornado mecha, and the weight of the same volume is only 60% of the original armor material. All the fuselage armor plates of the Tornado mecha have been dismantled and replaced with this HZ305 alloy. Before the mecha was shipped, some designs had to ensure the flexibility of the mecha without sacrificing armor protection. These positions have been strengthened, and the armor of some key parts has also been thickened. In this way, the weight of the fuselage without a shield has dropped by 15% compared to the original weight, while the armor strength has increased by nearly twice. Another alloy is called HZ623 alloy, which is specially used for mecha shields. The strength and durability of this alloy are 6 times that of the original shield alloy, but the weight is only half of the original weight. Because this material is too hard to be used in 3D printing, it can only be formed in a forging machine at one time, so it can only be used to make mecha shields. The new shield equipped with this mecha is 2.5 meters long and 1.6 meters wide, and the thickness is only half of the original thickness. The alloy sword was cancelled and replaced with 2 high-power light swords, which are stored in the forearm of the mecha when not in use. Since the weight of the shield has been reduced by more than half, many of the bulky supporting parts on the mecha arm have also been removed. With just the 2 modifications of armor and shield, the total weight of the mecha has been reduced by more than 40%, and the flexibility, speed, and endurance of the mecha have been greatly improved. In addition, the small machine gun on the mecha has also been removed and replaced with a quadruple grenade launcher. The new Tornado mecha is named Super Tornado. Mecha parameters: Strength 14, Agility 15, Armor 23, Speed 18. Captain Tor was ecstatic after getting the new mecha. The only request of Sniper Perlo is to transform his mecha laser sniper rifle. Since the mecha laser sniper rifle requires a lot of energy, the rifle must be charged before each use. The mecha laser sniper rifle he is using now can only fire 2 shots in a row each time. Then the energy block must be replaced, and then it will be charged for up to 20 seconds. Even if the energy block is directly connected to the external cable, the charging time is as long as 10 seconds. On the battlefield, such a long time is fatal to snipers. The newly designed laser sniper rifle is slightly larger than before, and uses a larger capacity energy storage device and charging device. This allows the sniper rifle to fire 5 bursts. The energy module of the Ranger mecha has been redesigned, and an additional set of batteries has been added to charge the sniper rifle, which can provide energy for the laser sniper rifle to shoot 20 times. The new charging device on the rifle can continuously charge the energy block, and it can complete a charge every 5 seconds, so that it can continue to shoot. In addition, his ranger has also replaced the shield and the fuselage armor in key parts. The long-range attack capability has been greatly enhanced. Petro happily gave the new mecha a very rustic name, Sniper. Haj's ranger is a deputy sniper. The mecha has undergone the same replacement as Perlo, replacing the shield, armor, and new mecha energy module. However, his rifle has only replaced the new charging device, which can charge every 5 seconds. But it can only fire 2 bursts, but the size of the laser sniper rifle has not changed. It is worth mentioning that Haj's ranger has been equipped with folding wings and 6 variable angle thrusters. This flying wing is a low-end version of the flying wing of the Desert Knight. It only has the ability to fly, but not the electric sword function. It can enable the ranger to have good air retention and low altitude flight capabilities, so that Haji can better observe the battlefield situation. His new mecha is called Peter Pan. It is a big problem to modify Beric's Storm Mecha. Storm Mecha, height 4 meters. Parameters, strength 11, agility 8, armor 11. Storm Mecha is a long-range strike mecha, but it is better to say that it is a large-scale long-range weapon-carrying platform than a mecha. The fuselage is equipped with a high-power fire control radar and can carry large-caliber howitzers, anti-mecha missiles, rocket launchers, rocket minilayers, anti-aircraft missiles, mecha laser rifles, etc. according to the requirements of the battle. It has a large ammunition load and high energy reserves, and can provide strong firepower support to the mecha team. However, one thing that is pitfall is that this mecha is not equipped with a leg module, but a tracked chassis, with a maximum speed of less than 70 km per hour. This makes this mecha unable to participate in those rapid assault operations, and it is also easy to become a target for other mechas. After discussion, Xia Xingchen, Father Free and Beric decisively decided to give up the modification of this mecha. They decided to redesign a heavy fire support mecha, based on the Tornado mecha. The new mecha is based on the Tornado, abandons the shield, and the fuselage armor uses HZ305 alloy. The head of the mecha is the latest integrated fire control radar, equipped with the latest fire control computer. The legs of the mecha are reinforced leg components, and several sets of mecha auxiliary wheels are installed to enable it to travel at high speed on the road. Behind the mecha is an enlarged and thickened energy module with 4 medium-sized thrusters. 2 heavy laser cannons extend forward from the shoulders of the mecha. The mecha has 4 grenade launchers on its legs and 6 small mecha laser rapid-fire cannons on its chest. It holds a mecha laser rifle in each hand. There are 2 light energy swords hidden in the forearms of the mecha, so it can fight, even if the opponent gets close to it. In addition, there are several weapon mounting brackets on the forearms, shoulders, back, waist and legs of the mecha, which can be connected to various weapons. Beric was also very satisfied with his new mecha, and he named his new mecha Typhoon. Typhoon Mecha, a modified version of the Tornado Mecha, a long-range firepower output mecha, 5.3 meters high. Parameters, strength 15, agility 13, armor 14. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, Meeting at the Bar. After upgrading his teammates' mechas, Xia Xingchen began to modify the Desert Knight. Through this test, he felt that, although his mecha had superior performance, it was still a little lacking in weapons and equipment. The body material of the Desert Knight mecha is better than HZ623 alloy, but it is too expensive to mass produce. However, it was still equipped with an alloy shield made of new materials. There are 3 light energy swords on the inside of the shield and the waist of the mecha. Father Free's leg design of the Bloody Queen gave him inspiration. Xia Xingchen added light energy blades to the foot assembly of the Desert Knight, and 2 retractable light energy blades were also added to the knees and elbows. As for Freya's Bloody Queen, the 2 maintenance technicians unanimously determined that it was too damaged and had no value for repair. Freya was very frustrated. However, Xia Xingchen reassembled a ranger for her, using HZ623 alloy for armor and a new alloy shield. Freya happily named this mecha Painted Red Wrench No. 2. When the new mechas of Team 06 participated in the combat patrol for the first time, the whole base was shocked. There were people who envied, jealous, and hated them. Some people even asked around to see if they could get into Team 06 through the back door. Colonel Nickel and Colonel Bessie high-fived to celebrate. Haha, it looks like we have one more elite mecha squad at our base. During the 40 days, when Xia Xingchen was busy modifying the mecha, Yuri was living a hellish life. His men had more than 5,000 mechas in the entire area near the landing site, and more than 3,000 reserve mecha divisions. The reptile gang had suffered a comprehensive blow from the military these days, and suffered heavy losses in death and escape. Now only his headquarters has more than 200 mechas of various colors left. What's more deadly is that the military has actually issued a bounty mission to the outside world, offering a high bounty for killing star pirates, stinging scorpions and other beasts. This has attracted countless bounty hunters, and explorers have come to watch Starter Hunt, and the heads of these sand pirates have turned into handfuls of banknotes. The attraction of money is the most terrifying. Camp Bell. Now the remaining mecha divisions we have are all elites. When you go out to act, you must focus on preserving your strength, so that we have the capital to wait for an opportunity to counterattack and reverse the decline. Yes, Lord Yuri, Camp Bell replied. The lights in the room dimmed, and Yuri was secretly planning a plan to escape from Watchster. This day was another day off, and Xia Xingchen planned to relax. He had been modifying mechas day and night for some time, and he was mentally exhausted. I haven't been to the bar for a long time. Thinking of this, Xia Xingchen came to the Desert Goddess bar. Although it is morning now, more than half of the bar is full of guests. As the base has added hundreds of people and many bounty hunters have settled in the base, the business of the Desert Goddess bar is getting better and better. Originally, there were no waiters in the Desert Goddess bar, but now Li Xiang is too busy, so he hired 4 young soldiers to help during the break. Xia Xingchen sat on a high stool in front of the bar, ordered a beer, and chatted with Li Xiang about some gossip in the base. At this moment, Freya walked into the bar. She was wearing a pair of blue jeans that outlined her perfect body curves. The tights on her upper body were low cut, and the deep ravine attracted the eyes of countless men. She walked towards Xia Xingchen, sat next to him, smiled and said, "Handsome guy, can you buy me a drink?" Suddenly, everyone in the bar was shocked. Is this still the bloody queen who kicked a man's balls over a disagreement? It's an honor, beautiful lady. Xia Xingchen responded with a smile. Old bear, give this lady a cup of black tea with some mint. It's my treat. Freya has been frequently going to the headquarters of Team 06 and the mecha repair warehouse recently, and has been hanging around Xia Xingchen all day, so Xia Xingchen knows what she likes to drink. Liu Xiang quickly brought a cup of black tea with mint, and the two clinked their cups and started chatting. However, women always bring a lot of trouble, especially those beautiful women. Holler is a 2-meter tall, muscular black man. He is a C-class mecha master and a bounty hunter. He led 4 D-class mecha masters, a total of 5 people and 5 mechas, to watch Starter participate in the bounty mission for sand bandits. According to the bounty news released by the military, these bounty hunters can accept the mission freely. As long as they have a certificate from the military, they can go to various military bases and supply stations on Watchstar for rest and supplies. Of course, the cost is borne by themselves. But as long as they kill enough sand bandits and bugs, this little money is nothing. The 5 mecha divisions of Holia were quite powerful. After killing more than a dozen mechas of the sand bandits, their self-confidence swelled a little. So a few of them set their sights on Yuri and Camp Bell, who had the highest bounties. The bounties were both over 1 billion star coins, so after a discussion, they came to the quicksand base. However, the quicksand base was different from the space station and the launch site. It was almost full of soldiers, and there were no women engaged in the flesh trade at all. As a result, a few people stayed here for a week, and were almost going crazy. At this time, Holia saw the beautiful Freya, and immediately his mind was filled with lust. "Girl, come over and have a drink with me." He walked towards Freya with a lewd smile on his face, followed by 4 younger brothers with lewd eyes and smirks. They also had a share of the women that their big brother had played with enough. Freya frowned. Under normal circumstances, if there was such a blind person, she would have drawn her gun long ago. But in order to make a good impression on Xia Xingchen, she forced herself to hold back. Freya smiled, moved closer to Xia Xingchen, and put her arms around his. "No, I already have a boyfriend. He will be unhappy." Freya acted like a little girl, acting coquettishly. The softness of her chest rubbed against Xia Xingchen's arm, and the alluring fragrance of a woman penetrated Xia Xingchen's nostrils. The people around were stunned by this scene. How could this kid be so virtuous that he could capture their queen? Many people's hearts were broken on the spot at this moment. Chapter 63 Fight. Girl, how dare you disobey our boss? I tell you, the boss's cannon is very powerful. If you serve him well, you will definitely reap both physical and spiritual rewards. A younger brother came up, looking like he deserved a beating. He thought Freya was pretending to be deep like those prostitutes, to raise her own value. Bang. Clango. No matter how good-tempered Freya was, she could not stand such insults and provocations. She grabbed a bottle on the bar and smashed it with all her strength at the back of the younger brother's head. The man's eyes suddenly became bright and blood came out, and he slowly collapsed to the ground. "Damn bitch, dare to hit my brother." Holler was angry and punched Freya in the face with a fierce straight punch. These bounty hunters live a life of blood on the edge of a knife. They are merciless when they attack. If the fist as big as a casserole hits, Freya will be seriously injured if not killed. Just when his fist was still some distance away from Freya, a bottle rolled down from top to bottom. But what was very strange was that the bottle didn't seem to be aimed at Holler, but just fell naturally, and Holler's fist seemed to hit it on purpose. Pa, huala, hey yo. Holler retracted his right fist, and the hard red wine bottle hit the back of his hand. Although Holler's body had been tempered by his mental power for many years, his bones were not broken, but the soft tissue on the back of his hand had been injured and swollen. "Who is it?" Holler looked up and found that the young man next to the girl was standing between the two of them. "You actually said such dirty and rude words to such a beautiful lady. You must apologize to her," Xia Xingchen said. Although he was only 16 years old, he exuded a kind of confidence and majesty. "Little bastard, you want to learn from adults to pick up girls and meddle in other people's business before your hair has grown up. Brothers, destroy him." Holler clenched his palms and roared loudly. The remaining 3 younger brothers rushed up with a roar. The boss had spoken, and the younger brothers must perform well. Freya wanted to rush forward, but Xia Xingchen held her hand, patted the back of her hand, and told her to be at ease. It was the first time that Freya was held by a man like this, and her face immediately turned red. Xia Xingchen was not very good at fighting. Although he had learned some basic fighting skills in the army during the year, they were mainly fancy skills, and had not been honed in actual combat. The fighting skills of Mechas were still very different from those of real people. However, he had the golden finger of the inside skill. The attacks of the 3 people seemed to be slow motion in his eyes, and they were full of flaws. Although he was not very good at fighting, he was no stranger to fighting. He used to be a miner, and climbed up from the bottom. He even fought with others for a piece of bread. Whether it was a single fight or a group fight, Xia Xingchen could be said to have experienced many battles. He dodged the attack, and attacked the 3 people. Kick in the crotch, dig in the eyes, elbow under the ribs. The 3 little brothers soon fell to the ground and rolled, wailing. His attack had no routine at all, nor was it a standard fighting move, but in the eyes of others, Xia Xingchen's relaxed fighting style and fierce killing moves made him look like a hidden martial arts master. Seeing his younger brothers being knocked down one after another, Holler was furious and rushed forward to attack. It must be said that this black man had rich practical experience, and his moves were fierce and coherent. In addition, with his enhanced body, Xia Xingchen felt a little tired. He could see many of Holler's moves clearly, but his body's reaction speed could not keep up, and he could only dodge them with great difficulty. Some of his attacks, if they did not hit the vital parts, could not cause any harm to Holler. Xia Xingchen frowned. It seemed that he had to conduct physical intensive training in the next stage, and he had to master fighting techniques. After all, the body is the root of everything. A considerable number of pilots did not die in mecha battles. After all, mecha pilots could not hide in mechas all the time. Holler attacked for 3 or 4 minutes without success. He was exhausted, and his movements finally slowed down. Xia Xingchen saw the opportunity and punched him in the abdomen with great force. Holla felt pain and hunched over to cover his stomach. Xia Xingchen then kicked him in the air from bottom to top, hitting him in the chin. Holla was kicked 3 or 4 meters away, blood spurted out of his mouth, and he fell heavily on a table behind him. The table was smashed to pieces and he lay on the ground unable to stand up. Freya came over and took a tissue to help Xia Xingchen wipe the beads of sweat on his forehead. Then she took his arm and said, "What a disappointment. I'm not in the mood anymore. Let's go back and have a drink in my room. No one dares to disturb us there." Xia Xingchen nodded, but at this time, the whole bar suddenly fell silent except for a few people groaning on the ground. A man was invited. Go to the queen's room to have a drink. Is this the rhythm of being favored? If eyes can kill, Xia Xingchen has been killed thousands of times by various envious and jealous eyes. Before leaving the bar, Freya walked up to Holla who was struggling on the ground, raised her foot, aimed at the middle of his legs and kicked hard. Suddenly, everyone heard the sound of eggs being crushed. The two turned and walked towards the door of the bar. At this time, a younger brother secretly climbed up. He was so bold that he raised the laser pistol in his hand and aimed at Xia Xingchen from behind. Bang! With a loud gunshot, the man with the gun was hit by the bullet. The huge impact force knocked his whole body out of the window. The body and the debris of the window fell into the pond outside the bar. Hearing the gunshot, everyone instinctively lay on the ground and looked for cover. When they looked up, they found that Li Pai was standing behind the bar with murderous intent, holding an old-fashioned shotgun with gunpowder still coming out of the muzzle. He roared loudly, like an angry black bear. "How many times have I told you that weapons are prohibited in this bar fight? Don't you know the big words on the wall?" The two walked side by side in the base. Freya held Xia Xingchen's arm. Xia Xingchen was a little embarrassed and blushed, but he enjoyed the feeling of having a beautiful woman around him. After all, he was at the age of beginning to have a crush on love. In the base commander's office, Commander Nickel and Captain Bercy were chatting. At this time, the duty personnel of the command center saw this scene in the base's surveillance. It was like seeing an alien. All cognition was completely overturned. The duty personnel's brain suddenly crashed, and they accidentally clicked send. The image was transmitted to the computer in Colonel Nickel's office. Nickel clicked on the image, and the monitor on the wall was connected to the monitoring equipment. Seeing this scene, his mouth opened, so wide that a goose egg could be stuffed in. After a long time, he said, "Lucky little guy, this is too lucky." Captain Bercy on the side was in a complicated mood at this moment. He was a comrade in arms of Freya's father, and also Freya's master. Although Freya always called him uncle in private, he always treated Freya as his daughter. Ah, the child has grown up. Principal Bercy sighed. Chapter 64 Unexpected Breakthrough. Although Freya's military rank was deputy captain, her residence was not in the officers' quarters with Colonel Nickel and Colonel Bercy, but in a building on the surface of the base with the female soldiers' quarters. This was a large suite of more than 100 square meters, and the overall decoration style was red, just like Freya showed in front of him. Passionate. One wall of the room was covered with photos, showing a handsome officer and a doll-like little girl, telling the happy days they had spent together. On the other wall were pictures of various mechas. In the center of the room was a large pink bed. The two sat down on the sofa beside the bed, and Freya took out a few bottles of red wine and 2 high-foot glasses from the refrigerator. The two sat together, their bodies close together, drinking and chatting about their pasts, feeling each other's joys and sorrows. In a blink of an eye, more than 2 hours passed, and each of them drank nearly 2 bottles of red wine. Freya's face was flushed at this time, her arm and eyes were full of spring, and she said slowly, "I was in the mecha at that time, and I felt that I was going to die. It was not until this time that I realized that, although they all called me the queen, it was just a mask for my self-protection. I was actually just a little woman who longed for a man's protection and love. I said to myself at that time that, if anyone could come to save me at this time, I would let him be my knight, and give him everything I have." At this point, her voice became smaller and smaller, and finally it was like a mosquito. Suddenly, she stood up, and threw herself into Xia Xingchen's arms, looking into his eyes with affection. "Xingchen, are you willing to be my knight?" Xia Xingchen could no longer hold back, and he met those hot lips as soon as he opened his mouth. Freya responded enthusiastically, and the two people's tongues intertwined. Xia Xingchen kissed her while picking her up and putting her on the big bed. Some things are the primitive instincts of human beings, which are ingrained in genes. Although both of them had no experience, these things did not need to be taught. Xia Xingchen fought hard, and a strong stimulation came to his mind. The mysterious crystal pyramid appeared in his mind again. The pyramid released colorful light. Under the illumination of the pyramid, in the surrounding forests and houses, pairs of ape-like creatures were doing what he was doing now. He seemed to be integrated with one of the apes. He moved faster and faster. Freya moaned happily, and finally, something left his body, and his mind was blank. At this time, the pyramid suddenly emitted a sky-high light. Xia Xingchen lost consciousness. When he woke up, it was already the next day. The whole house was still filled with the smell of intoxication, which fully explained the fierceness of the battle last night. At this time, he felt that everything in front of him seemed to be different, and he seemed to have entered the state of insight again. But the difference is that this state seems to be unable to be cancelled. He has been maintaining the state of insight, and he found that the range of insight has expanded to more than 50 meters. What's more amazing is that the mental energy consumption of maintaining the state of insight is very small, as if there is almost no consumption. He carefully checked his mental power. Suddenly, he found that his mental power level had reached level 20. Generally speaking, the total amount of additional mental power required to upgrade from level 19 to level 20 is dozens of times the total amount of mental power in the previous 19 levels. Even if his mental power growth rate is inhuman, Xia Xingchen calculated that he would need several months of hard practice to meet the upgrade requirements, plus a suitable opportunity to upgrade. But now, after a night of romance, he actually received such a big red envelope. Xia Xingchen put on his clothes and suddenly found that there was a video message for him on the big screen in the room. When he opened the video, Freya's charming figure appeared in it. After a night of love, Freya's temperament has added a bit of charm, and she looks more radiant. My dear knight Xia Xingchen, I'm sorry that I can't get up with you. My knight, you always surprise me. My mental power has reached level 19 for a long time, and it has not changed. I even think that I may not be able to cross this threshold in my life. But with you, my knight, your strength, your bravery, and your ardent love for me, you broke my physical shackles. When I woke up in the morning, I found that I had actually broken through. For our future, I decided to go into seclusion and meditate first. Kiss you. Freya ended the video with a flying kiss. After reading the video message, Xia Xingchen smiled bitterly. Unexpectedly, Freya also broke through, and she was also level 20. According to research, after humans have just broken through level 10, level 20, level 30, these important nodes, the human spiritual sea has not stabilized, which determines that the first meditation after the breakthrough is very important. Grasping this meditation, the total amount of mental power is likely to reach a high level, and the result of this meditation may even be worth the hard work in the next few years. Moreover, when the human spiritual level reaches level 20, one in hundreds of thousands of people will be able to awaken mental power. Don't think this ratio is high, because less than 1% of the population in the universe can reach level 20 in mental power. Xia Xingchen said hello to Father Free and his teammates, and told them that he was going to retreat. His teammates were very surprised. Colonel Tor was more than 10 years older than him, and it was not easy for him to reach level 17. The other person in the team with the mental power of level 18 was Haji, who was only 23 years old. However, it was a very fast speed for him to reach level 18 in mental power at this age. Who knew that there was such a monster in his team? Xia Xingchen came to the base commander's office and planned to ask for leave. Because their mecha team belongs to the combat department, they often have to participate in duty patrol missions. If they are absent rashly, it will bring great risks to their teammates, so they must ask the commander for leave, and the commander will rearrange the duty personnel. At this time, in the commander's office of the Quicksand base, Colonel Nickel and Colonel Bessie were discussing issues. They were discussing Freya's future arrangements. Because just over an hour ago, Freya also came to ask for leave, and asked for a treat. Her mental power level reached level 20. He walked into the office and saluted the two officers. "What do you want?" Nickel was curious to see him. "Report to the commander. I want to take a few days off. The time is uncertain. My spiritual power level has just broken through level 20, and I plan to take a few days off to retreat." Xia Xingchen replied. "Oh, broke through level 20. What? You also broke through level 20? Nickel jumped up like a cat whose tail was stepped on and asked loudly. "Yes, Commander." At this time, Bessie spoke up. "Freya also broke through level 20. Do you know about this?" "Yes, Commander, I know. She broke through in the middle of the night yesterday. She said she didn't tell anyone." "How did you know?" Colonel Bessie asked with a bad face. He found that Freya was a little different from usual today. He and Nickel were both experienced people. They guessed that something might have happened to Freya last night, and the guy in front of him might be the culprit. "Commander, Xia Xingchen was speechless. "I watched Freya grow up. She is like my daughter. If you treat her unfairly, don't blame me for feeding you to the sandworms." Colonel Bessie said solemnly. "Yes, sir." Chapter 65 New Powers. With the approval of the two highest officers of the base, Xia Xingchen began to prepare for the most important meditation in his life so far. He had a good meal and slept again. He didn't sleep well last night and consumed too much energy. After he woke up, he took a shower and changed his clothes. He was finally refreshed and felt in good condition. He hung a do not disturb sign at the door of the room. Then he closed the door and began to retreat. But what he didn't know was that after he closed the door, Captain Tor came and moved a chair to sit outside the door. This kind of retreat is very afraid of being disturbed. The members of the 06th team divided the work and came here for him in 3 shifts every day. And Father Free simply moved a camp bed and slept outside the door. Xia Xingchen entered a meditative state and he entered the world of the Crystal Pyramid again. The apes were brutally slaughtered by the lizardmen and resisted fiercely. The apes created Mechas. The Mechas sprayed flames and rushed towards the lizardmen's Mechas. The lizardmen's Mechas were blown up and 8 apes' Mechas landed on the ground. The cockpit of a mecha opened and a tall late pilot appeared. He came to the ground and waved his hand and 8 Mechas disappeared instantly. Xia Xingchen seemed to have had a bizarre dream. I don't know how long it took. The dream finally woke up. He glanced at the personal terminal on the table, and it was already 3 days later. He felt a strong sense of hunger in his stomach, but he didn't care. What he wanted to know most now was what he gained from this meditation. Through careful observation and experience, he found that his body had undergone the following changes. The first change came from his inside skill. He noticed it when he just broke through 3 days ago. He always maintained a state similar to the inside skill. He could perceive the appearance of everything around him, and everything was so clear. Except that the moving objects were not slowed down. Everything else was the same as the inside state, and the range of influence of this state was more than 50 meters, and there was almost no consumption of mental power. The second point is that through this meditation, the total amount of his mental power has increased geometrically. Judging from his current state, Xia Xingchen's mental power level has exceeded level 24. The third gain was that he found that his mental power could be split into several parts. Originally, for ordinary people, after the mental power level reached level 20, one of the main signs was that the mental power could be released outside the body. This release is generally only a few meters away. These released mental powers can help mecha masters to sense danger. Not only that, some smart mecha designers have designed some mental power sensing devices on the mecha. With these devices, mecha masters can stimulate these devices by releasing mental power in battle. And the strength of mental power also has a great amplification effect on the power of these devices. These mental power amplification mechas are far beyond the reach of ordinary mechas. Xia Xingchen's mental power release is not just as simple as mental power extension. His mental power can be independently divided into 4 other mental power individuals. These mental power individuals can leave the main body and go hundreds of meters away to conduct exploration, control objects, etc. These spiritual individuals are independent of each other, just like 4 people with independent personalities, but at the same time, they are one. What they see and think will immediately appear in their minds. Xia Xingchen named this new skill schizophrenia at first, but later he thought it was not nice, so he changed it to spiritual clone. Xia Xingchen let out a long sigh. He was very satisfied with the result of his meditation. The rapid growth of mental power, the almost normalized inside state, and the spiritual clone whose function needs to be further clarified. When he opened the door, he found that there were many people waiting outside, including Father Free, Freya, Captain Tor, Perlo, Haji and Barak. You've made us so anxious. It's been 3 days. If it weren't for Sergeant Free stopping us and saying that you are a freak and different from others, we would have rushed in long ago. Captain Tor said helplessly. It turned out that the longest record of this kind of meditation was only 2 days. Xia Xingchen didn't come out for 3 days, and everyone thought he was in trouble. After I finished my meditation, I spent some time in there to feel the changes in my body. I'm sorry to have worried you all. Thank you. Tonight, I'll treat you at the desert bar. Xia Xingchen quickly explained. There's an Aunt Susan in the cafeteria. I heard that she needs a rider to ride. Would you consider it? Haji teased. Perlo's mind suddenly appeared with a figure with a waist thicker than a bucket and a fleshy mountain riding on him. He immediately broke out in a cold sweat. The originally very beautiful vision in his mind was shattered, and all desires were gone. There are opposite sex but no humanity, Barak muttered. Father Free glared at him. How can you guys have no vision at all? Get out of here and stop getting in the way. After saying that, he left with a smile. Freya meditated for a little more than a day and then ended her retreat. Her mental power growth has reached nearly level 21. However, she did not find that she had awakened her mental power. But there is no need to be discouraged, because the awakening of mental power cannot be manifested immediately. It still requires a certain amount of time and opportunity. In the evening, Xia Xingchen accepted the celebration of his teammates in the bar and expressed his gratitude. After the end, he came to Freya's room again, and the two of them discussed life in a friendly way. Sitting in the cockpit of the Desert Knight, the engine was running smoothly. Xia Xingchen closed his eyes and felt it silently. When he was not riding the mecha, his inside skill had a range of 50 meters. Through the amplification of the mecha, his mental detection range was increased to 200 meters. This distance basically covers the main range of mecha melee combat, improving his future battlefield survivability. That night, he was studying the design drawings of a mecha in his workshop. Suddenly, he remembered that there seemed to be 2 types of mecha wreckage and the mecha ruins in the mecha warehouse, so he went to look for them and wanted to see the real thing. Power amplifier. Here, gyroscope. He was holding the electronic drawings and looking for these accessories with the inside skill. Finally, he saw the accessories he wanted. These parts were not big. Xia Xingchen divided his mental power into 4 parts and wrapped them around the 4 parts, intending to use mental power to pull them out of the pile of parts. However, the next moment, the 4 parts disappeared. Oh my god, what a hell. Xia Xingchen scanned the pile of parts very carefully, but still did not find the 4 parts. They seemed to have disappeared out of thin air. But Xia Xingchen could clearly confirm that the 4 parts did exist, and they were there just now. He expanded the search range and searched carefully many times, but the result was still the same. Could the problem be with these 4 parts? Thinking of this, Xia Xingchen decided to change his mind. He glanced at the electronic drawing again. Power amplifier. He thought about the appearance of this part in his mind. Suddenly, the power amplifier that had just disappeared appeared in front of him. Xia Xingchen rubbed his eyes. It seemed that he really saw a ghost. He then thought about another part, gyroscope, and suddenly, the gyroscope also appeared in front of him. He was very puzzled by such a strange thing. He thought about how the accessories disappeared just now, so he divided his mental power to wrap these 2 things. As a result, the strange thing happened again. The 2 accessories disappeared again. Could it be related to my mental power? Thinking of this, he infiltrated his mental power into his mind again. In the distance, the crystal pyramid was still rotating slowly, and a huge mental power surrounded the pyramid. The source of his mental power was his spiritual sea. The human spiritual sea is the place where the human body stores mental power. The capacity of the spiritual sea is actually the total amount of human mental power. Suddenly, he found that his spiritual sea seemed to be very different from before. In addition to the volume being many times larger than before, in a corner of the spiritual sea, there was a spherical space with a diameter of 10 meters. This spherical space is a vacuum, and the 4 equipment just now are floating quietly in this vacuum space. Could it be that my mental power can wrap external objects and store them in the spiritual sea? Thinking of this, he felt a little excited in his heart. He tried hard to think about these 4 equipment, and in the blink of an eye, these 4 accessories appeared outside the spiritual sea. Xia Xingchen looked around, trying to find something bigger to try. There was a mecha up next to him, weighing several tons and more than 2 meters long. He used his mental power to wrap the part, and the big guy was instantly stored in the spherical space in his spiritual sea. But this time, he felt that the loss of mental power was very obvious. It seems that the size and weight of an object are proportional to the consumption of mental power. Xia Xingchen thought about this space. The sphere with a diameter of 10 meters can just fit a mecha and its weapons and equipment. Could it be that this sphere is from the technology of the crystal pyramid and is used by those 8 mecha masters to store mechas? He recalled the scene when he was meditating in seclusion. The 8 mecha master waved his hand and several mechas disappeared. It seems that their mechas were stored in this space. Then he thought of the battle of the 8 mecha master. The 8 mechas cooperated with each other seamlessly, just like one person operating them. Yes, one person, 8 mechas. He suddenly thought of the mental clone. The mechas landed later, and only he, a mecha master, came out, and then all the mechas were put into space. This means that those mechas are most likely controlled by one person. And the way a person controls these mechas is most likely to be a mental clone. However, his current mental power is not enough to control multiple mechas. Thinking of this, Xia Xingchen cleared the spherical space and came to the mecha hangar at the end of the maintenance warehouse, where the Desert Knight was parked. After confirming that there was no one around, he began to wrap the Desert Knight with his mental power, and with the mental power, the Desert Knight disappeared on the mecha maintenance operating table in the blink of an eye. Xia Xingchen felt his head sink and a little dizzy. He was shocked when he looked again. It turned out that half of his mental power was consumed. However, looking at the Desert Knight in the spherical space, Xia Xingchen jumped up happily. You know, being able to carry your beloved mecha with you and summon it whenever you want to use it is an irresistible temptation for mecha masters. He named this spherical space Portable Mecha Space. Chapter 66 Father Free's Advice. At night, Xia Xingchen came to find Father Free. It has been more than half a month since he broke through, and he has not come to see Free at night in this half month. Boy, are you finally willing to leave your queen? Look how long you haven't come to me to ask questions. Father Free teased. Father, Xia Xingchen blushed. After all, he was a young man who tasted the forbidden fruit for the first time. After all, it was inevitable that he would be unable to control himself. But later, both of them calmed down and felt that it was better to keep a certain distance. After all, destroying the reptile gang and avenging Freya is the primary task now. Forget it, I'm also an experienced person. You young people must pay attention to moderation in sex and don't indulge in women. What do you want to find me for? I have broken through, but my mental power seems to have changed again. You old man are knowledgeable. Help me analyze these changes. How can I make better use of them? Xia Xingchen asked sincerely. Tell me in detail. Xia Xingchen recounted the changes and evolution of his mental power from the breakthrough to the present. Of course, the crystal pyramid was his biggest secret, and he skipped the content in this regard. Before knowing what the thing was used for, not letting Father Free know was also a kind of protection for him. Father Free thought seriously. He was thinking carefully. He must be responsible for Xia Xingchen's future. After thinking for a long time, he slowly said, I will give you a few suggestions. First, your mental power is growing fast enough, so in the next stage you should let it go. Don't force it, and try not to force yourself to pursue breakthroughs and use drugs, meditation devices and other things. Why is that? Xia Xingchen asked curiously. The human body and mental strength complement each other. When the human mental strength level reaches level 7, mental crystals will be produced, stimulating the pituitary gland to release various hormones to strengthen the body. However, this kind of strengthening requires time and process. If the mental strength grows too fast and the body's strength does not keep up, there will be big problems. For example, the mecha is a human body, and the mecha's operating software system is the human mental strength. You can imagine what the consequences would be if the operating system software on the Desert Knight was installed on an ordinary ranger. Then the mecha must be unable to withstand the violent movement and fall apart and crash. Xia Xingchen thought for a moment, and at this moment he seemed to understand something. Yes, that's the reason. Father Free smiled with relief. He was very satisfied with Xia Xingchen's understanding. So I suggest you slow down and strengthen your body. If possible, learn some martial arts and fighting techniques. After all, for thousands of years, human warriors have made many achievements in the study of physical strength. Excuse me, Dad, do we have such warriors in our base? If you want to learn fighting techniques and martial arts, I suggest you go to Colonel Bearcy. He is the highest combat power in our quicksand base. However, he is very busy and may not be willing to teach ordinary people, but you are different. Let Freya help you. Xia Xingchen nodded. Let's talk about your spiritual clone. I suggest you keep it secret. Although the mecha master who awakens the telekinesis can get more resources and attract the attention of various forces, you have too many secrets and are easily coveted by some forces. After all, the temptation of becoming powerful is irresistible. This secret includes your superiors and your girlfriend. They cannot be exposed. At this point, Father Free looked at him seriously. Xia Xingchen nodded solemnly. Dad continued, when you reach your level of mecha master, you are likely to face some higher level and stronger opponents, so you must hide more cards. The world of mecha masters is very dangerous. The only way to survive is to pretend to be a pig and eat the tiger. I have already thought about how to use your spiritual clone to operate your mecha. Let me prepare for a few days, and then we will start to transform the Desert Knight again. Thank you, Dad. Okay, we don't have to do so many hypocritical things. You go to accompany your queen. Dad smiled. Dad, actually, there is one more thing. Xia Xingchen hesitated. If you have something to say, just say it. As a man, you should be decisive and straightforward. Dad was very unhappy with his attitude. Well, come with me. Xia Xingchen brought Dad Free to the mecha hangar. He confirmed that there was no one else around and turned off all the monitoring equipment. Father Free was curious about his sneaky look and asked, what's wrong? Where's the Desert Knight? Did you lend it to your queen? No, father. What is that? Did you lose the mech? Or did you sell it secretly? Father's reaction was a little excited. No, forget it. I won't say anything. Just look for yourself. Xia Xingchen was helpless when he couldn't persuade him. Look, I've seen everything. Hey, what's going on? Exclamation mark. Father Free was rambling, and suddenly a mech appeared out of thin air on the empty mech maintenance operating table in front of him. It was the Desert Knight. What's going on? Mirage system? No, even the most advanced Mirage system can't be without any energy fluctuations. How did you do it? It's not scientific. It's not scientific. Did you hypnotize me? Father, you are looking at this. Xia Xingchen picked up a universal maintenance mechanical arm, and as soon as he activated his mental power, the mechanical arm disappeared without a trace. This. Father Free was so shocked that he was speechless. After this upgrade, a spherical space with a diameter of 10 meters appeared in my spiritual sea. I found that I could wrap objects with my spiritual power and store them in the space. I can also take them out at any time. Follow me. Father Free dragged him back to his room without saying anything. Chapter 67, Secrets of the Mecha Space. Father Free entered a series of commands on his computer, and the electric doors of the entire mecha maintenance passage were automatically closed. Then he entered another series of passwords, and the floor in front of Father Free's desk actually split to the sides, and a staircase appeared. Father pulled him down the stairs, and entered the passage. After walking down for more than 10 meters, an underground space of more than 500 square meters appeared. Compared with the mess in the office above, everything in this underground space is in order. A medium-sized photon computer, with various equipment indicator lights flashing, and several operating tables filled with densely packed tools and parts. At the innermost of the underground space is a data room of more than 100 square meters, with various filing cabinets and bookcases on both sides. In the middle of the data room is a large table, on which are placed computers and projectors. This is my private laboratory. It was built secretly when the base was established. Now only Commander Nickel knows about this place in the base. It is absolutely safe here. Father Free was very nervous at this time. He asked Xia Xingchen, "Who else knows about your portable mecha space?" "No one, you are the only one," Xia Xingchen replied. "That's good. From now on, before you become an S-class mecha master, you can't tell anyone about this!" Exclamation mark. Remember, it's anyone. If this matter is revealed, not only you, but everyone related to you, including our entire quicksand base and watchstar space station, will be wiped out from this universe. Xia Xingchen was shocked. He was a little overwhelmed. Father Free slowly talked about the whole story. More than 90 years ago, an interstellar expedition team affiliated with the Galactic Empire military was ordered to enter the Death Star region, attempting to open up new routes and find a new star region suitable for human survival. This order was issued by the former Emperor of the Galactic Empire, Emperor Qin Wu. Emperor Qin Wu was the longest serving Emperor of the Galactic Empire. He was Emperor for 82 years. And under his rule, he eliminated the last separatist force in the Milky Way, and completed the unification of the Milky Way. But this Emperor Qin Wu had a weakness, which was that he was ambitious and keen on expanding territory all day long, so the Death Galaxy became his target. In order to conquer the Death Star region, he sent 3 medium-sized space carriers, 300 heavy cruisers and thousands of other ships, which accounted for 1/3 of the Galactic Empire's military strength at the time. They entered the Death Star region in a mighty manner. However, soon, there was no news of this fleet. A year later, a scarred heavy cruiser broke out of the Death Star region, and they brought news. The entire fleet had encountered dozens of terrible cosmic natural disasters such as electromagnetic storms, black holes, and space turbulence in the Death Star region, and had been completely wiped out. This heavy cruiser was ordered to explore an uninhabited planet and survived. On this planet, they discovered an alien ruin, and brought out a lot of strange materials and alien technology products from the ruins. These things were later sent to the Galactic Royal Academy of Sciences, the most advanced in the Milky Way at the time. And this battleship also mysteriously disappeared on the way back to the base, after handing over the materials. Scientists of the Galactic Royal Academy of Sciences discovered in their research that among the alien technology items they brought back, there was a magical space crystal. This crystal has the magical ability to fold space. It can open up a separate enclosed space, which is parallel to the current space of human beings. Under certain special conditions, the space folds and intersects. At this time, objects in the current space can be placed in this enclosed space. With this discovery, the Galactic Empire invested a huge amount of money in the Academy of Sciences. After more than 50 years of research, this space crystal was finally made into 5 space keys. Each of these space keys is slightly smaller than a pistol. The user can input mental power into the space key to cause the space to fold, and then store items in this space. Each space key can open up a spherical space with a diameter of 6 meters. When the news came out, the whole galaxy was shocked. This is a strategic equipment that can subvert the entire galaxy. Imagine an S-class mecha master using it to hide the mecha and secretly sneak into the palace, cabinet and other important targets, and suddenly take out the mecha to attack, which is impossible to resist. Or terrorists use it to sneak into the capital starfield with a large yield nuclear bomb or star-breaking bomb, and the serious consequences caused are unimaginable. The right to distribute space keys has attracted the attention of all parties. Finally, the Empire came up with a plan. Qin Wen, the then Emperor of the Galactic Empire, obtained 1 key. The second key was given to Qin Haitian, the chief elder of the royal family and the captain of the Royal Mecha Guard, and the third key was given to Michael, the highest combat power of the military, an S-class mecha master, the guardian of the Empire, and the Angel of Light. The last two keys will be officially recruited by two S-class mecha masters, who will join the Imperial Army and the Royal Guard respectively. Since there are more than a dozen S-class mecha masters who signed up for the recruitment, the royal family decided to hold an S-class mecha master fighting competition, and only the top two would have the opportunity to join the army and the Royal Guard. However, on the night before the competition, someone broke into the heavily guarded Royal Academy of Sciences and detonated a nuclear bomb, killing tens of thousands of scientists, and all relevant information was burned, while the whereabouts of the remaining two space keys were unknown. The royal family and the military were furious, and they put all their efforts into searching for the whereabouts of the two space keys and tracking down the mastermind behind the scenes. However, 50 years have passed. Thousands of organizations have been implicated in this incident, and millions of people have been executed because of this incident, but the truth is still unknown. Until now, the military and related investigation departments of the Galactic Empire, once they find any clues about space technology, even if there are only a few words, they will be listed as the most urgent incident and deal with it as soon as possible. Although it has been a long time, few people in the civilian world know about it, but there are many people in the military and scientific community who know about it. After listening to his introduction, Xia Xingchen's back was already wet with cold sweat. He did not expect the consequences of this incident to be so serious. I will help you build another mecha. It is always good to have an extra means of life saving, but don't put the desert knight in the space, to prevent suspicion from those who are interested. Yes, Dad, I understand. After listening to his father's words, Xia Xingchen decided to keep this secret forever, until he became strong enough. Chapter 68, Martial Arts. The next day, Xia Xingchen found Freya and expressed his desire to learn martial arts and fighting techniques from Colonel Bessie, and Freya agreed. Later that day, Freya brought good news and asked him to go to the small playground on the ground at 4 o'clock the next morning. Xia Xingchen was very excited. He meditated all night and then went to the appointment in high spirits. At this time of the watchstar, the stars had just risen from the horizon. It was still a little cold outside. Xia Xingchen arrived at the small playground 5 minutes in advance and found that Colonel Bessie had already arrived there. Colonel Bessie was not tall, only about 180 centimeters, in his 50s this year, with brown hair and a crew cut. He had a cold temperament, which could only be formed after countless killings on the battlefield. The temperature outside was not high, only a few degrees. Colonel Bessie wore a pair of camouflage military pants on his lower body and a dark tight vest on his upper body, with his strong muscles exposed outside. Report to the commander. Lieutenant Xia Xingchen is here to report. Xia Xingchen quickly saluted. You want to learn martial arts? Why? Bessie asked coldly. I want to become stronger, so that I can change this damn status quo, and protect the people I love. Xia Xingchen said firmly. Colonel Bessie was Freya's adoptive father, and also his future father-in-law, and he didn't want to be looked down upon. Learning martial arts is a very hard thing, and there will be great dangers, especially at your age. You have passed the best age for martial arts. It's not that you can't practice martial arts, but you have to work dozens or hundreds of times harder than others. Are you mentally prepared for this? Yes, sir, I'm ready. Okay, then you come and attack me now, with all your strength, and don't hold back. I want to see how strong you are. Bessie ordered. Yes, sir. Xia Xingchen took a deep breath, rushed out, and pierced Colonel Bessie's eyes with 2 fingers of his right hand. He secretly raised his left foot and pushed his knee against his lower body. HMPH, you bastard, you're really cunning, but you're just playing tricks. Bessie easily saw through his tricks and attacked Xia Xingchen with a set of fierce combo moves. He quickly entered the inside state and tried to dodge. Every attack of Colonel Bessie was accompanied by a sharp sound of wind. He was full of power. Looking at his tense muscles, Xia Xingchen knew that he couldn't fight him head on. Although he had fought with Holla, who was also a SEAL-level mecha master, Holla was just a fighting master, not a warrior, and Holla's attack was just a list of killing moves. Although the speed was fast, it was not coherent, giving Xia Xingchen time to adjust. Colonel Bessie's attack was completely different. His attacks were linked together like flowing water, getting faster and faster. Xia Xingchen could still try to dodge the first few moves, but he found that the intervals between the attacks were getting smaller and smaller, and he was trying harder and harder to dodge, and finally he couldn't dodge. Bercy kicked him in the air. He crossed his hands to block the kick. With a crack, Xia Xingchen was kicked more than 5 meters away. His body hit a tree as thick as his forearm behind him, and the trunk was broken in two. Xia Xingchen climbed up awkwardly. His 2 arms were dislocated, and his back was burning. But he knew that Lieutenant Colonel Bercy had shown mercy. He used a special method to transfer most of the force to the tree behind him. Otherwise this blow would definitely cause fractures in his arms and spine. Bercy walked up and connected his dislocated arm. "Want to hear my evaluation of you?" he said. Xia Xingchen nodded. "You are a waste. You are not good at speed, strength, agility, or physical resistance to blows. You don't have any fighting experience or skills. The only thing you have is your natural sensitivity to danger and the ability to predict your opponent. But facing a real master, your so-called predictive ability is useless. Its only function is to let you see more clearly how you are killed. Moreover, over-reliance on this ability will cause the degeneration of your functions and other aspects, which will cause endless harm." Bercy pointed out Xia Xingchen's shortcomings without hesitation, which was undoubtedly a wake-up call for him. He remembered that, when he was learning mecha control in the simulator, he was tortured in various ways because he could not use the golden finger, but his skills were also honed in that kind of torture. Otherwise, even if he had the golden finger to help, he would not be able to pass the level test. Lieutenant Colonel Bercy continued, "So, you will face very severe tests, except in human training, endure unimaginable pain, and you will not be able to get close to women for at least half a year. I will ask you one last time, are you ready?" "Yes, sir, I'm not afraid, I'm ready." "Okay, I hope you can do what you say. The most important quality for a martial artist is perseverance. If you can't hold on, then Freya will leave you. I will never hand her over to someone who has no perseverance. Sir, I have confidence and perseverance, and I will never give up Freya." "Then, let's start training now. The first step is to strengthen your body. You, from today on, run 6 laps around the inside of the base every day, and then find me." From this moment on, Xia Xingchen began his miserable life. After the expansion of the quicksand base, the area of the entire base has also expanded. They built a new alloy concrete wall with a length of 2 kilometers, a width of 1 kilometer, and a height of 8 meters on the basis of the original base, which was recently completed. Running around the inner circle of the wall is at least 5 kilometers, and 6 circles is 30 kilometers. Xia Xingchen ran down with gritted teeth. Bercy made a detailed training plan according to his duty schedule. Every morning is running, rain or shine, and if there is no duty during the day, it is anti-strike training. The so-called anti-strike training, in the words of the old man Bercy, is, to hit someone, you must first learn to be hit. Bercy forbade him to use the inside skill, and then used thousands of martial arts in the galaxy to attack him. Generally, he would beat him for 2 or 3 days, beating him black and blue, and then explain to him the characteristics, weaknesses, and killer moves of this martial art. After a few days, Xia Xingchen got used to this martial art a little, and then he would immediately switch to another martial art, and beat him for 2 or 3 days. Every night before going to bed, he would do 2 hours of strength training. At this time every day, Xia Xingchen was already covered with bruises and exhausted. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Retaliation. At this time, Bercy taught Xia Xingchen a breathing method. This breathing method is said to be something called internal strength. It can be traced back to thousands of years before humans entered the space age, and can be used during meditation. It can speed up the circulation of ki, blood and nutrients in the body, speed up metabolism, and at the same time, cooperate with the hormones secreted by the pituitary gland to strengthen the body and repair the body's damage. For martial artists, whether it is physical training that exceeds their human body's load, or constant beatings and injuries, it will cause damage to the body. This damage is accumulated in the body imperceptibly, and even the most advanced medical equipment cannot detect it. But if these injuries accumulate to a certain extent, or if the martial artist's physical function declines as he gets older, it will burst out in a concentrated manner one day in the future. For example, on Earth, the birthplace of mankind, there is a martial art called Muay Thai. This martial art is powerful and extremely fierce. Practitioners strengthen their bodies almost like destruction every day. However, once they are over 30 years old, their physical functions decline rapidly, and they are forced to give up practicing this martial art. When these people reach the age of 40, their physical functions are facing collapse. Many of them are disabled or even die. Baer's method of practicing both internal and external martial arts can effectively offset the damage of practicing external martial arts, and can also take into account meditation. In just over a week, Xia Xingchen felt that his physical functions had improved a lot, and he had adapted to this cruel training. However, the good times did not last long. Baer increased his training volume based on his progress. The morning run became 8 laps, and the strength training before bed became 3 hours. Even in the anti-strike training, he called a large group of soldiers to brutally beat Xia Xingchen. The miserable days began like this. In a palace on Siberia, the capital of the northern administrative region of the Galactic Empire, Prince Nicholas was listening to the report of Chekhov, the Minister of the Interior of the Northern Administrative Region, on Wachsta. When he heard that their forces on Wachsta were hit by the military from all sides, his brows were furrowed. After thinking again and again, he finally spoke. "Chekhov, let your brother Yuri withdraw." Nicholas said, "This Chekhov is Yuri's half-brother, the masked man. But your highness, we have invested too many resources in Watchstar over the years, especially the dozen or so Zerg jammers, which are worth several cruisers. It's a pity to give up like this." Chekhov said unconvinced. "Chekhov, I know you are prejudiced against your brother, but Yuri is a talent. He has endured humiliation and trained a large number of talents for our north over the past decade. Among our dozens of training planets, Watchstar has trained the most mecha divisions. Moreover, this time it is not his responsibility, so I must let him come back alive and commend him, so as not to let my subordinates feel disappointed. Your highness is wise." Chekhov said so, but he didn't agree in his heart. He wished that Yuri could die on Watchstar and never come back. "Chekhov, you should have a bigger vision. You are my loyal minister and have served me for many years. Yuri can't threaten your position, and the position of the patriarch of your family will be yours sooner or later. I don't want to see my subordinates slagging. So, don't let me down." Nicholas said earnestly, "Yes, your highness, I understand. However, isn't it too easy for the quicksand base to withdraw like this?" Chekhov added. "Quicksand base? Wasn't Andrei seriously injured by the pilots from the quicksand base when he took the assessment a few days ago?" Nicholas' face suddenly darkened. "Yes, your majesty, it's the quicksand base. They have had a blood feud with us for more than a decade. Chekhov, send a special assault squadron to support Yuri on the one hand, and teach the quicksand base an indelible lesson by the way. I want everyone to know that those who go against me, Nicholas, will pay a heavy price." "Yes, my majesty." Chekhov agreed and turned to leave. At this time, the guard came to inform that Lieutenant Andrei wanted to see him. "Let him in," Nicholas said, and Chekhov also stopped and stood aside. Not long after, there was a sound of footsteps. Andrei walked up and saw that there was a hideous scar on his face at this time, running across his entire face, just 1 centimeter below his eye. "Andrei, what are you doing? What's wrong with your face?" Nicholas asked. "Medicine is very advanced in this era. The biological treatment chamber can even cure missing limbs, not to mention scars. Unless it is damaged by toxins that are difficult to remove, or is exposed to radiation, it is impossible to leave scars. Your highness, this is my own request to leave it. I want to use it to remind myself of the humiliation I have suffered. This time I came to apply to you. Please approve me to go to Watchstar. I have to defeat that soldier myself to get rid of my inner demons. Only then can I continue to make progress." Android said, gritting his teeth. 3 months ago, you lost to him. How can you guarantee that you can defeat him now? I don't want to send you to die meaninglessly. Nicholas said coldly. Your Highness, I underestimated the enemy 3 months ago, so he succeeded in a sneak attack. Moreover, I have just broken through level 20, and I have also awakened my mental power. It turned out that Andre was seriously injured and unconscious, with broken bones all over his body and multiple internal organs injured. He lay in the biological treatment chamber for more than 2 months before recovering. However, he had been stuck at the 19th level of mental power for a long time, and this injury turned out to be an opportunity for him to break through. Oh, your mental power has awakened? Is it bloodthirsty? Nicholas was very curious. Yes, Your Highness, it is bloodthirsty, Andre replied happily. According to scientists' research, the mental power of mecha masters is hereditary. The probability of awakening the mecha masters who have awakened their mental power is also very high, and the mental power attributes of the 2 generations are almost the same. Well, your father's spirit can finally rest in peace, and my good brother has a successor. I approve your application, Nicholas said excitedly. Yes, Your Highness, I will start preparing now, Andre said. How about this, Andre? You will directly participate in Chekhov's operation to pick up Yuri and avenge the Overwatch Star Quicksand base. You wait a few months before leaving until the new mechas and warships are completed and fully prepared. Andre, don't be stubborn. Even if the mission fails, you must come back alive. As you wish, Uncle Nicholas. Chapter 70. The Revengeful Wolf. The Northern Administrative District of the Galactic Empire, the capital of Siberia Star Number 3, is the mecha production and research and development base of Northern Heavy Industries, a famous military enterprise in the Milky Way. In the mecha laboratory of the base, Prince Nicholas was visiting here. Behind him was Henri, who was wearing a metal mask on his face. Accompanying the two of them on the tour was Kasimov, the chief mecha designer of Northern Heavy Industries. Nicholas smiled and said to Kasimov, Mr. Designer, I prepared a gift for this young man. What progress have you made now? Kasimov said, Your Highness, the most critical step has been completed, please see. As he said that, he came to the operating table and pressed a few buttons. A metal wall in front of him slowly opened to both sides, revealing a device inside, which was covered by a huge canvas. Kasimov pressed a few more buttons, and several mechanical arms stretched out to the device. The canvas on it was lifted, and the things inside slowly revealed their true colors. Andrei's pupils suddenly shrank when he saw this thing, and his heart beat violently due to excitement. This is a cylindrical metal object with a height of nearly 2 meters. It is completely black, and exudes a special luster. Andre recognized that it is the engine of mecha. On the outer shell of the engine, there is a conspicuous yellow clover logo, nuclear-powered mecha engine. Andre couldn't help shouting out. Kasimov nodded and said, yes, in short, this is a macro-controlled nuclear fusion engine. It is the blueprint that our intelligence department obtained from the Tang Dynasty group. After more than a year of research, we finally solved this scientific research problem. However, the cost of this engine is too high. The cost of making one engine is enough to make hundreds of Ice Wolf mechas. Human beings began to use nuclear energy thousands of years ago. At first, it was used to treat diseases. The X-rays emitted by nuclear materials can penetrate the human body to detect the condition of bones and internal organs. Later, a world war broke out on the Earth, and humans used nuclear energy for war and made nuclear bombs. As a result, a country called War on the Earth was hit by 2 nuclear bombs, killing hundreds of thousands of people. After the war, humans began to use nuclear energy to generate electricity, which greatly alleviated the energy crisis of humans at that time. Later, the Japanese were still determined to develop nuclear weapons and started a world war. As a result, their angry neighbors used hundreds of nuclear bombs to sink the island nation of Japan to the bottom of the sea. After humans entered the space age, nuclear energy was widely used in spacecraft, space stations, ecosystems, etc. There are 2 types of nuclear energy, nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Nuclear fission, also known as nuclear fission, refers to a nuclear reaction in which a heavy atomic nucleus, mainly a uranium nucleus or a plutonium nucleus, is split into two or more atoms with smaller mass. This fission will emit huge energy when it occurs. The energy source of atomic bombs, fission nuclear power plants or nuclear power plants is nuclear fission. Nuclear fusion, also known as nuclear fusion, fusion reaction or fusion reaction, refers to the process of small mass atoms, mainly deuterium or tritium, under certain conditions, such as ultra-high temperature and high pressure, allowing the extranuclear electrons to break free from the constraints of the nucleus, so that the two nuclei can attract each other and collide together. And the nuclei can aggregate with each other to generate new heavier nuclei, such as helium. Although neutrons have a relatively large mass, they are not charged, so they can also escape from the constraints of the nucleus and be released during this collision. The release of a large number of electrons and neutrons is manifested as a huge release of energy. Nuclear fusion will also release huge energy, and it is greater than the energy released by nuclear fission. The process of hydrogen fusion into helium is continuously going on inside the sun, and its light and heat are generated by nuclear fusion. Compared with nuclear fission, nuclear fusion will hardly bring environmental problems such as radioactive pollution, and its raw materials can be directly taken from the deuterium in seawater, which is almost inexhaustible, and is an ideal energy source. Humans were able to achieve uncontrolled nuclear fusion in those days, such as the explosion of hydrogen bombs. It took humans many years to find a way to control the stable output of nuclear fusion, and nuclear energy has since become widely popular. However, nuclear energy was later replaced by safer and more economical solar energy and planetary geothermal energy. After the invention of the mecha, it is a huge energy-consuming device, and the energy storage of the battery is closely related to its size. Many weapons and equipment on the mecha cannot exert their power due to insufficient energy. So, some people thought of nuclear energy, which is not large in size, but has a huge energy output. The first macro-controlled nuclear fusion engine used in mecha was actually invented by Northern Heavy Industries 100 years ago. But it was a big guy 5 meters high and weighing dozens of tons. In order to use this engine, Northern Heavy Industries built a giant humanoid mecha that was more than 20 meters high. As a result, the big guy left the support and walked forward a few steps. The leg parts were crushed by the huge weight, and the entire mecha fell to the ground and turned into a pile of scrap metal, crushing dozens of people. This incident later became a laughingstock in the military industry and technology community of the entire galaxy. After several decades of technological development, scientists from the Tang Dynasty group finally compressed the macro-controlled nuclear fusion reactor into a size that can be installed on a mecha. They successfully made a macro-controlled nuclear fusion engine with a height of only 1.6 meters. It was named Lungsan. Due to the high cost of macro-controlled nuclear fusion engines, only a few hundred units have been produced so far, all of which are used in mechas driven by S-class mecha divisions and A-class mecha divisions. In order to realize his ambition, Nicholas must have a strong force. Therefore, he fully supported Northern Heavy Industries and instructed agents from the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the Intelligence Department to sneak into the Tang Dynasty group to steal confidential design drawings. Finally, after hard work, the Spinxon No. 1 macro-controlled nuclear fusion mecha engine was finally produced. After looking at the mecha engine, Kasimov took the two to an operating table and operated the computer a few times. Several optical image generators in front of the operating table emitted light, forming a 3D holographic mecha model in front of them. This is Lieutenant Andrei's new mecha. It will be equipped with the Ice Core No. 1 nuclear engine. Kasimov was very satisfied with his work. Please give it a domineering name, Lieutenant Andrei. Andrei's eyes suddenly ignited with a fiery flame of revenge. He gritted his teeth and said, "Vengeance, wolf." Wolves are animals that remember grudges. If you provoke wild wolves in the wild, they will always follow you and wait for an opportunity to retaliate. It is definitely a situation of no return. Kasimov happily introduced this mecha to the two. Vengeance Wolf, height 6.5 meters. Humanoid and beast dual mode transformable mecha. Parameters: Strength 20, Agility 18, Armor 25, Speed 20. The main weapon system is, in human form, 6 retractable light claws on the left and right forearms. The claws of the ice wolf are alloy, but now they are replaced with more powerful light claws. The foot parts of the mecha are also equipped with 3 light claws each. There are 2 heavy laser cannons and 4 medium laser cannons on the back. There are foldable alloy wings on the shoulders of the mecha. The edge of the wings can also be used as a light sword. In addition, it is equipped with a heavy laser rifle and a light sword. When the mecha changes into a wolf form, the wolf's mouth opens, and there is a medium-sized rapid-fire lightning cannon inside. This mecha can be said to be armed to the teeth. There is also a powerful equipment on the ice wolf, that is its light armor. When the mecha is started, the energy generator on the mecha will form a light energy field on the surface of the mecha. When the mecha is hit, this force field will offset a lot of damage. With this device, ordinary medium-sized laser cannons and mecha shotguns will find it difficult to hurt the mecha. Chapter 71, Application for Routing. Watchstar, Quicksand Base Commander's Office. What, old man, you want to take 2 months off, and you want to take Xia Xingchen with you? What's wrong with you? Lieutenant Colonel Nickel was furious. I haven't taken a home leave for 10 years, 6 days a year. 10 years is exactly 60 days. Father Free rolled his eyes at him. Then why do you want to take Xia Xingchen with you, and take the mecha with you? I'm going out to visit some old friends, and buy some high-end mecha parts and materials. Xingchen has now broken through level 20, and the mecha needs to be upgraded, and Freya also needs to make a new mecha. I upgraded the mecha for those monkeys in Team 06 a while ago, and I spent all my money. What if I don't take Xingchen with me, and I get kidnapped by star pirates? Father Free said righteously. Okay, you are right, go ahead. Nickel waved his hand helplessly. I'll leave right away, but you have to give me a spaceship, and you have to allocate funds. I bought all these things for the base. Father Free was relentless. I don't have the money, and who knows what you've used it for. Nickel pointed his nose at him. You don't want to give me money, right? Then I'll apply for retirement. Anyway, I've served for 10 years, and I don't want to serve you anymore. Free stood up. You unreasonable old thing. Okay, I'm afraid of you. Go ahead. Buy things and come back to reimburse me. Nickel wanted to eat him, but he didn't dare to offend Father Free. Without him in charge, the attendance rate of the mechas at the quicksand base would drop to what it would be like, and those experienced old mecha masters would never come to this damn place. Although the two quarreled every day, they had a very good personal relationship. At this time, Xia Xingchen had gone through more than 3 months of rigorous training. His height and weight had increased. His previously thin body had become much stronger, and his skin was tanned into a healthy bronze color. After reluctantly bidding farewell to everyone, the two took the mecha and boarded the landing ship to the Watchstar space station. Here, a Far Traveler Type 5 small space roaming spacecraft was ready. The two placed the mecha and purchased a large amount of supplies. The spacecraft engine slowly started and left the spaceport. Their first destination was Furustar, located on the edge of the Chang'an starfield. The Far Traveler Type 5 small space roaming spacecraft is specially designed for space tourism enthusiasts and explorers. It is 50 meters long, 18 meters wide and 16 meters high. The front of the hull is a streamlined conical design. There are multiple retractable wings in the hull to facilitate flying in the atmosphere. The spacecraft is equipped with 2 quantum propulsion engines and 4 rocket jet engines. It is fast, fuel efficient, and can also make short distance jumps. It can also travel in the atmosphere of planets with not too much gravity. This spacecraft is widely used in scientific research, interstellar tourism, interstellar logistics, interstellar smuggling, and smuggling due to its excellent performance and adaptability. When this spacecraft is fully loaded, it can carry 4 mechas and 12 members. Now, there are only Father Free and Xia Xingchen on the spaceship. The cargo hold at the back is also loaded with only Desert Knight and another Ranger mecha. Father Free is drinking wine leisurely in the cockpit. The spaceship is set to autopilot, so he only needs to get up occasionally to check whether it has deviated from the route. Xia Xingchen is sweating profusely on the fitness equipment temporarily installed in the cargo hold. When he left this time, Colonel Bearsey still made a strict training plan for him. The colonel will assess him after he returns. If his performance declines, the colonel will not let him have a good fruit. Finally, a blue planet appeared in front of him. This is Furustar. It was discovered on the birthday of Emperor Kinwu, so it was named Furustar. This planet is called the most Earth-like planet. 68% of the planet's surface is covered by oceans, and the forest surface is densely covered with vegetation. Since this planet was discovered relatively late and there are indigenous people on the planet, the Galactic Empire government decided not to carry out large-scale development on this planet in order to maintain the biodiversity on this planet. However, the beautiful scenery of Furu attracts a large number of tourists every year. There are now 4 large tourist bases and a military base on the planet, and other areas still maintain their original appearance. Before the Far Traveler 5 spacecraft entered the atmosphere, Father Free greeted the garrison of Furu and obtained landing approval. The identification code of this spacecraft is the 3rd Fleet. Only military spacecraft can be allowed to enter the atmosphere of Furu after obtaining approval. Civilian spacecraft do not have this treatment. After a few minutes of vibration, the spacecraft gradually stabilized. 3 pairs of wings of different sizes slowly extended from the rear, middle and front of the spacecraft, and the body slowly fell. Landed on the surface of a calm lake. 3 anchors were shot from the bottom of the lake tens of meters deep from the bottom of the spacecraft to fix the body of the spacecraft. Boy, let's go and look for treasure. Father Free dragged Xia Xingchen, and the two came to the cargo hold and got on the mecha respectively. A flight module was installed behind Father Free's Ranger, which is a fixed flying wing and 2 medium-sized thrusters. It can help the Ranger mecha fly better in the atmosphere. Why are we here? Xia Xingchen asked. Treasure hunting. I have hidden treasure on this planet. Free laughed. The hatch opened, the Ranger took off, and the Desert Knight spread his wings and followed closely behind. Chapter 72. The Teremi People. The Teremi are natives of Furu. They look very similar to humans, with an average height of about 2 meters and blue skin. They have only 2 toes on their feet and are good at running and climbing. They have hard bone organs on their elbows, knees, and finger joints that can be used as weapons. They are also slightly older than humans and can live to more than 200 years. The Teremi are very warlike and worship the strong. Teremi means warrior in the local dialect, but they are very good at judging the situation and will not blindly fight against opponents who are much stronger than themselves. The Teremi are still in the stage of primitive society, and the tribe is the most basic unit of their survival. They have no technology and live a life of slash and burn farming. When the Teremi were first discovered, they were still using stones as weapons. It was not until more than 100 years ago that humans discovered this planet. At the beginning, some conflicts broke out between the two sides, but they soon subsided. This is because the Galactic Empire did not develop Furu on a large scale. In the minds of these natives, this planet is very large anyway, and there is nothing wrong with giving some space to humans to live. Not only that, many Teremi people quickly learned human language and started doing business with humans. They exchanged matches, crossbows, alloy knives and other cold weapons with tourists using agricultural products, handicrafts, some wild animal products, herbs, seeds, etc. Later, under the influence of humans, they learned to weave and put on clothes. Even a few Teremi people walked out of this planet. Yugo is 20 years old this year. Among the Teremi people, this age can already find a spouse and reproduce. Yugo is the most powerful hunter in this tribe. He has been very good at the fighting skills handed down in the tribe since he was a child, and he has also learned various powerful traps from the old hunters. There are all kinds of ferocious beasts in the forests around the tribe, and there are big fish in the lake, and all kinds of pearl-producing shells. These are very popular with those foreign humans. Every once in a while, the people in the tribe will bring a large number of spoils and walk along the river for dozens of days to the nearest tourist resort center to exchange supplies. The sharp alloy dagger and metal spearhead on Yugo's body were what he exchanged with humans. Yugo's tribe has more than 500 people, which is a large tribe in this forest. Life here is simple and peaceful, and they don't have to worry about being attacked by wild beasts. The main occupation of the Teremi people is hunting, and they are all good hunters. There are countless traps waiting for the wild beasts that come to their door. However, Suddenly one day, bad luck befell this tribe. 4 Terami children were playing near a cave, and suddenly several big insects rushed out of the cave. These insects are more than 2 meters long and more than 1 meter high. They are covered with thick shells, with 2 extremely sharp claws, and a huge tail behind them. There is a poisonous hook on the tail. 2 of the children were torn to pieces and eaten in an instant, and the remaining 2 children ran desperately to the tribe. 1 child accidentally fell to the ground and was eaten by the insects that chased him. The last child ran desperately and finally ran back to the tribe. However, before he could explain to the tribesmen what happened, hundreds of such bugs rushed into the base. They killed anyone they saw and then ate them cruelly. The traps around the tribe had no effect on them at all. A dozen warriors of the tribe besieged a bug, and they could only kill one after sacrificing 7 or 8 lives. In the end, Wugo watched helplessly as all the people in the tribe died, including poultry and livestock, which were cruelly killed and eaten by bugs. Wugo had already killed 3 bugs with all his strength. His spear broke, and the alloy dagger also remained in the body of a bug. Without weapons, he didn't want to be slaughtered, so he had to run desperately. A dozen bugs chased him closely, and all the creatures he encountered along the way became food in the bugs' mouths. In the end, Wugo was tired and couldn't run anymore. He had used up all his strength when killing bugs just now. Suddenly, his feet softened, and he fell to the ground. The 3 bugs closest to him surrounded him instantly, waving their claws to tear the food in front of them. A stinging scorpion raised its claws high and was about to fall on his head. At this time, several green lasers flashed and shot into the body of the insect. The scorching laser quickly pierced a big hole in the insect's body. The liquid in the insect's body was instantly heated and expanded, and it burst with a bang. Along with the aroma of barbecue, the green blood of the insect sprayed all over his face and head. Yugo saw a huge thing called a mecha by humans hovering in the sky, constantly emitting green light from its body, and more than a dozen insects chasing him all the way were destroyed. This must be sent by the gods to save me, Yugo thought, kneeling on the ground and worshipping the mecha in the sky. It turned out that Father Free and the Desert Knight were rushing to the place where Father hid things and suddenly saw a group of creatures chasing a blue-skinned alien. Xia Xingchen magnified the optical image, and when he saw the appearance of those insects, his pupils suddenly contracted. Because those creatures were surprisingly stinging scorpions. Aren't stinging scorpions creatures that only exist on Watchster? How come they are here? He was very puzzled, but the current situation was critical and saving people was the most important thing, so he couldn't think too much. So the 4 rapid-fire laser cannons on the Desert Knight fired continuously, and the laser rifle of the mecha was also adjusted to the highest rate of fire. Although the power was much reduced, it was more than enough to kill the stinging scorpion. The huge mecha slowly landed on the ground under the action of the strong airflow ejected by the thrusters, and the surrounding trees were blown to the ground by the strong airflow. Xia Xingchen walked out of the cabin door and came to the ground along the electric steel cable. Yugo ran up and knelt at Xia Xingchen's feet, shouting, "God, help, surrender, servant." Xia Xingchen was confused. At this time, Father Free, who came down later, translated for him. The Terami man meant that Xia Xingchen was sent by the gods to save him, and he expressed his willingness to surrender to Xia Xingchen and be Xia Xingchen's servant. Xia Xingchen asked, "What's going on with these bugs? Where are the people in your tribe?" Yugo said with a sad face, "The tribe was killed and eaten by bugs." Xia Xingchen was confused again. He said that all the people in the tribe were killed and eaten by bugs. Free translated, and then asked, "Do you know Yuru?" Yugo's eyes burst into tears. Yuru, Grandpa, Chief, was eaten by bugs. Then he started to cry. What he meant was that my grandfather was Yuru, the chief, and he was eaten by bugs. Chapter 73 Servants. Xia Xingchen interrupted his sad voice. "You lead the way to the tribe. I will avenge you." Wugo nodded, and the 2 boarded the mecha. The ranger mecha squatted down and stretched out an arm. Wugo lay on the arm of the mecha, holding a wooden stick in his hand, pointing the direction of the tribe. The mecha flew towards the tribe. From a distance, there was an open space in the mountain stream. The fence around the open space had been destroyed, and none of the houses on the open space was intact. There were stinging scorpions everywhere on the open space, probably hundreds of them. The desert knight rushed up quickly, and the laser cannon fired continuously, killing more than 60 insects. But at this time the mecha energy was running low, and the screen showed that there was still 40% of energy reserves. The desert knight simply put away the rifle. He took out 2 light energy swords, and the light energy blades on his feet also lit up red, and the mecha rushed towards the surviving insects. It must be said that the 3 months of learning martial arts and fighting had a great impact on his mecha driving skills. 4 red lights were seen flying up and down, and all the bugs that were touched were chopped into pieces. In just 2 minutes, all the remaining bugs were killed by the desert knight mecha. Then, Xia Xingchen released his mental power to the maximum, and his insight ability was greatly opened. After repeatedly confirming that there were no other bugs within a dozen kilometers around, he landed on the ground. At this time, the desert knight had only 20% of its energy left, and the two decided to return to the spaceship to recharge. At this time, Yugo hugged Xia Xingchen's calf tightly, not letting him leave, and kept shouting, "Yugo, take servants." Father Free thought about it and said, "He wants to be your servant and go with you. I think we should take him with us. The Terami people are loyal, obedient, good at fighting, and are good partners." Xia Xingchen had no choice but to take Yugo back to the spaceship. After settling Yugo down and letting him rest in the room, the mecha had been fully charged at this time, and the two set off again. They flew over the ruins of Yugo's tribe and flew forward for a while, and a small hill appeared in front of them. The mountain was covered with dense forests, but there was no grass at the top of the mountain. It was a large pile of rocks. The ranger landed in front of a huge rock the size of a mecha. Dad signaled that the 2 mechas should work together to move the rock. Then the ranger pointed the back of the machine toward the open space under the rock, and the engine was fully turned down. The huge airflow blew away the sand and gravel on the ground. A piece of metal ground was exposed from the ground. Dad got off the mecha, flipped a metal plate on the metal ground, and took out a password box from it. Dad entered a long string of passwords on the password box, and the entire metal ground suddenly split to both sides, revealing 10 2m x 2m x 4m metal containers. The 2 mechas flew back and forth more than 10 times, and recharged once in the middle, before transporting the 10 containers to the spacecraft. Finally, the 2 of them worked together to restore the boulder to its original position. Due to the limited space in the cargo hold of the spacecraft, Father Free picked out 5 containers and opened them to take out the equipment, parts, and materials inside. The parts in these 5 containers were relatively valuable, and many of them were contraband. He asked Xia Xingchen to store all of them in the portable mecha space. As a result, after a whole day of tossing and turning, Xia Xingchen meditated twice before putting all 5 boxes of things into the portable mecha space. Xia Xingchen probed his mental power into his spiritual sea and found that the mecha space was full. Things here came to an end, and the spacecraft slowly took off. A few hours later, they came to the only military base on Furuxing and came to meet the commander of the base. They came here mainly for 2 purposes. The first was to get an identity certificate for Yugo. The Terami people are not human beings. They have no identity certificates and files on Furuxing. If they want to leave the planet, they must apply for identity certificates and file them at the military base. In this way, they will get an identity. This identity is higher than that of minors. They can travel and migrate freely in the Milky Way and are protected by law, but they do not have some rights of Milky Way citizens. Of course, if they join the Galactic Empire Army and have certain military merits, they can obtain citizenship. And such filing can also prevent interstellar slave trading. The second thing is to report the discovery of stinging scorpions on Furuxing. The two explained the living habits and hazards of stinging scorpions in detail and played videos of fighting stinging scorpions on Furuxing. Father Free also played many videos of fighting stinging scorpions on Watchstar, as well as some documentaries about stinging scorpions. The commander was anxious at first sight. After listening to the introduction of the two, he felt the seriousness of the matter. Stinging scorpions are asexually reproducing creatures. It only takes 1 year for them to hatch and lay eggs next time. Each stinging scorpion can lay more than 100 eggs at a time. Since stinging scorpions have no natural enemies, these eggs will basically hatch successfully. It is very barren on Watchstar, and there is not enough food. The hungry stinging scorpions often kill each other and devour each other, so the population growth rate is limited. On Furuxing, all kinds of food are very sufficient, and stinging scorpions grow very fast. Furustar is vast and sparsely populated. If the two had not accidentally discovered the stinging scorpion this time, when their population formed a scale, Furustar would have become a hell on earth. The commander thanked the two, quickly reported the news to the military, and sent a large number of mechas and reconnaissance aircraft to conduct a comprehensive inspection of the entire planet, and also launched hundreds of low Earth orbit reconnaissance satellites at one time. After completing Yugo's identity certificate, buying him several sets of clothes specially tailored for the Terami people and a new alloy dagger, the three returned to the spacecraft and resupplied the spacecraft. The spacecraft slowly left the water, and the 4 rocket engines at the back ignited. Father Free pulled up the head of the spacecraft, and the spacecraft slowly became vertical with the ground. At this time, the wings of the spacecraft slowly folded up, the thrusters were fully opened, and the three were pressed to the seats by thrust and gravity. The Rover V spacecraft rushed out of the atmosphere and flew into space. Their next target was Chang'an Star's satellite, Chang'e 2. It is the largest distribution center for mechas and mecha accessories in the Western Administrative Region. The Mecha R&D Center and the largest production base of the Tang Dynasty Group are located here. At this time, on the flagship of the 1st Squadron of the 3rd Galactic Fleet, Thor's Hammer, Vice Admiral von Klausch was talking to his father, Grand Marshal von Bismarck of the Galactic Empire Army, through a secret communication channel. The ice between father and son was broken after Nicholas' conspiracy on Watchstar was crushed last time, and their relationship quickly warmed up. In the past, some orders from the military were conveyed through the general command. Now, the old marshal often conveys orders in person, just to have a good chat with his son. Chapter 74 Father Free's House. What do you think of the Scorpion incident on Chang'an? The old marshal asked. I think this is a man-made conspiracy, and it's not an isolated case. We should conduct a comprehensive survey. I think there should be traces of scorpions on other planets. You are right. There are 2 cases in the Southern Administrative Region, and 1 in the Eastern Administrative Region. The one in the Southern Administrative Region is actually in the Antarctic Star region. The military has instructed all fleets, and the garrisons and governments of each star region to start a survey. Bismarck was very satisfied with his son's judgment. When were those scorpions brought to those planets? Klausch asked. About 2 to 3 years ago. They were all dropped from space, in sealed containers in the form of eggs. These things are large and fierce, and it is difficult to take the adult live from Watchstar. Von Klausch was silent. He thought carefully, and then said, we can retrieve the flight trajectory of the spacecraft that flew from Watchstar to those planets during that period, and we can almost determine the murderer and which planets may be attacked. We have already done so, and have locked on to several targets. You know what? These ships are more or less related to the north. The old marshal sighed. Now it can be confirmed that this is another conspiracy of Nicholas. Judging from the situation, he may openly rebel against the Empire in 2 years at the earliest and 3 or 4 years at the most. By then, if a catastrophic infestation of stinging scorpions suddenly occurs on dozens of planets throughout the country, it will involve too many of our troops, and the media and the government will put tremendous pressure on the army. This move is too poisonous. Von Bismarck seemed to be thinking about it. Fortunately, it was discovered early. You, the 3rd Fleet, should speed up your preparations and enter a state of combat readiness in advance. Also, this time it was discovered by the little guy from the quicksand base, and I think you should express your appreciation. Marshal von Bismarck instructed. His rank was promoted too quickly, and I can only compensate him in other ways. What do you think of a huge bonus, military merit, and a place for further study at the Imperial Military Command Academy? Speaking of Xia Xingchen, von Klausch was still very proud. After all, Xingchen was discovered by him. Okay, I hope he can give us a bigger surprise. However, what no one knew was that a conspiracy had already begun on Watchstar. After 3 days of trekking, the small spaceship arrived at Chang'e 2. This planet is very large. Although it is a satellite of Chang'an star, its size is about the same as that of Furu star. Due to the busy space traffic here, Chang'e 2 built 2 artificial star rings around the surface of the planet. There are hundreds of thousands of space berths on the star rings, which can dock various ships. There are thousands of large elevators on the space rings that are busy all the time. Here, each fleet has dozens of dedicated berths. The 3 parked the spaceship and took the orbital elevator on the star ring to the ground. The gravity on Chang'e 2 is relatively small, about 0.9 g, and the only impression given by the entire planet is science fiction. The city is full of various strange buildings, and most of the building materials are mainly metal. There are all kinds of strange vehicles flying in the sky and running on the ground. Even the police who maintain public order are robots. The people living here are also strange. Some are unkempt, some have transformed their entire bodies into machines, and there are all kinds of clones, aliens. In short, there are not many normal people. In the words of Father Free, the brain structure of geniuses and lunatics is exactly the same. Xia Xingchen drove the anti-gravity magnetic levitation car and left the business city under the guidance of Father Free, and the car drove into the suburbs. It looks relatively normal here, with various plants growing lushly, and there are private villas and manors among the plants. The car drove for more than an hour before arriving in front of a villa on the top of a hill. A red laser beam on the gate scanned Father Free's face through the car window. At this time, the car's communicator was connected to the house intelligent management system, and a password box appeared on the car's center console. Father Free put his palm on the screen, and the fingerprint was automatically scanned. He entered another row of passwords. The gate of the yard opened automatically, and the automatic robots in the yard stopped their work to welcome him. Walking into the spotless living room, a robot with the appearance of a waitress immediately brought red wine. "Sit down, have a drink, and take a rest," Father Free said. At this time, Yugo and Xia Xingchen were dumbfounded, their mouths wide open, wanting to ask something, but unable to say it. "Haha, this is a house intelligent management system. Nothing special," Dad explained. Since humans entered the space age, they often go on interstellar journeys, but if a house is not taken care of, it will be uninhabitable within half a year. If an uninvited guest happens to take over the house, the consequences will be even more disastrous. So humans developed an intelligent house management system. This system is connected to the city's main control computer. There are robot cleaning staff responsible for cleaning, robot maintenance workers responsible for repairing the house, and robot guards responsible for safety. And the house security system is connected to the police system. As long as there is money in the home owner's account, the system will continue to operate. If there is something that the robot cannot solve, the system will automatically report to the management company, and the management company will send humans to solve the problem. Not long after, another vehicle arrived outside. Dad took a look and chuckled. "You are in for a treat today. My housekeeping robot has entered the program of tens of thousands of delicacies in the Milky Way." Just now, the system detected that the owner of the house has returned, and the logistics center came to deliver the food. After all, food has a shelf life. After several people had a feast, Father Free took them to the basement. After entering the password into the electronic screen on the wall, and after fingerprint, DNA, and iris scans, the door on the wall slowly opened. Father pushed the switch, the lights came on, and various equipment began to flash indicator lights. This is a space the size of a basketball hall, with a total of 2 mecha maintenance workbenches, various testing equipment, a set of material factory equipment, and various strange tools. Father Free was surprised to see Xia Xingchen and Yugo. He smiled and explained, "Chang'e 2 is the research and development headquarters of the Tang Dynasty Group. There are hundreds of thousands of mecha designers and mecha maintenance technicians working and living here on the entire planet. All the villas in the suburbs that you just saw have such a mecha maintenance workshop. Because mecha designers often rely on inspiration, such a house design allows them to devote themselves to work at any time. Come on, unload everything here," Father said, pointing to an open space. Xia Xingchen smiled bitterly. It took a lot of mental energy to take so many things out of the portable mecha space. The feeling of being hollowed out was really bad. In the meantime, he had to meditate twice to replenish his mental energy. They did not shy away from go about the portable mecha space, because in the eyes of this Teremi, he now saw more new things every hour than he had seen in his entire life. And through the contact over the past few days, the two people liked this simple and loyal alien very much. Chapter 75 Lungsen Engine. All the mecha parts selected by Father Free were taken out from Xia Xingchen's portable mecha space. Come, let me show you my treasure, Father Free said, operating the mechanical arm himself, and placing a cubic meter alloy box on the ground in front of him. The box also had a password lock. Father Free entered the password, and there was a sound of mechanical operation. The four walls of the box automatically opened in four directions, revealing the contents. This is a yellow-black device, about 1.6 meters high, an irregular cylinder, with various pipes, cable interfaces and fixtures on the surface of the cylinder. It is unknown what material the device shell is made of, but Xia Xingchen knows that the hardness of that material is no worse than the best mecha armor material now. The whole device has a sense of deja vu. He walked around the device, and when he saw the black clover logo in a circle on the back of the device, his eyes widened. Nuclear bomb. Father Free jumped up in anger and slapped him on the head. You bastard. I read the information I gave you in vain. Think about it again. Ouch. Don't hit your head. It hurts. It will make you stupid. Xia Xingchen complained helplessly. Let me ask you, what is the first macro-controlled nuclear fusion engine in the Milky Way that can be used on Mechas, and which company invented it? Father stared at him and asked. The Cyclops of Northern Heavy Industries, which ended up killing dozens of people. Xia Xingchen muttered. Snap. Father jumped up and slapped him on the head again. I'm talking about a normal, mass-produced engine that has been put into formal use. That garbage is a laughingstock. Why are you talking about him? Are you kidding me? Father roared. Isn't it just Lungsen? Why can't you talk properly? Why are you hitting people? Xia Xingchen complained. Suddenly he realized, oh, this is the Tang Dynasty Group's macro-controlled nuclear fusion mecha. It seems to look the same as the photo of Lungsen. You are close to the answer, but not completely right. To be precise, this is the prototype of the Lungsen macro-controlled nuclear fusion mecha engine, the Lungsen number 1. The original prototype. This thing should be the treasure of various arms groups. How did it get into your hands? Xia Xingchen couldn't figure it out. An excellent product with epoch-making significance, whether it is a manufacturer or a research institute, basically has to be placed in a museum or the company's honor room for future generations to admire, or it will be destroyed during the test. In the case of this kind of prototype leaking out, either the company went bankrupt, or it was stolen. Did you steal this? Thinking of this, Xia Xingchen blurted out this sentence without thinking. Ping. Pong. Ouch. Don't hit it. Father Free was completely furious, and beat Xia Xingchen violently. Fortunately, Xia Xingchen had undergone brutal anti-strike training, so he was not afraid of being hurt. He did not dare to fight back, and could only dodge as much as possible while being beaten. A few minutes passed, and Father Free was tired of beating him, and his anger finally subsided. He sat on a chair in the middle of the venue thoughtfully, and his thoughts suddenly returned to the past. He said, this Lungsen engine prototype was given to me by my teacher. My teacher is Mr. Zhuo Leiheng, the chief mecha designer of Tang Dynasty Group. If I remember correctly, the teacher is 82 years old this year. This Lungsen was his work when he was young. Later, Tang Dynasty Group planned to reward the teacher with a large sum of money, and he proposed to collect this Lungsen prototype. The teacher invented countless mechas and various weapons and equipment in his life, and collecting these prototypes was also one of his hobbies, so Tang Dynasty Group agreed. Later, I studied design under the teacher. Once, our research group encountered a technical problem. In order to motivate us to solve the problem, the teacher said that whoever solved the problem could pick anyone from his collection. You know, the teacher built a museum for his collection at that time, which was full of things that all mecha maintenance technicians were very jealous of. At that time, I was full of vigor and spent more than a month, sleepless and forgetting food, and finally solved this problem. The teacher asked me what I wanted, and I jokingly said that I wanted the Lungsen. The teacher gave it to me without saying anything. In his opinion, although these collections are precious, there are many more precious things in the world, such as the enterprising spirit of young people, and another example is a person's commitment. Xia Xingchen listened and fell into silence. My idea is that the Lungsun is a mecha engine, and it can't be left to continue to be covered in dust. Its greatest significance is to become the heart of mecha. Father Free said. But decades have passed. Can it still be used, and is its technology a little backward? Xia Xingchen asked. Free explained. You don't know this. When the teacher made the Lungsun, he used the best materials. The service life of these materials is at least hundreds of years. Moreover, the Lungsun prototype uses many very advanced technologies. Even today, these technologies are decades or even hundreds of years ahead of the times. All the Lungsun micro-controlled nuclear fusion engines on the market are simplified versions. Because many of the materials used are too precious and the cost is extremely high, we can only sacrifice performance and replace them with some substitutes. Of course, we must test them before use. Let's do this test now. Speaking of this, Father Free used a robotic arm to take out an alloy box from the pile of accessories. After opening it, there was a cylinder 60 cm long and 40 cm in diameter. He pressed a few buttons on the Lungsun, and a cover popped open on the top of the Lungsun. He carefully operated the robotic arm to load the cylindrical device into the Lungsun from above, and then replaced the cover and locked it automatically. This is a concentrated nuclear fusion fuel rod. Theoretically, if you fly the mecha at full speed for 10 hours a day, this fuel rod can be used for more than 10 years. Dad was operating while explaining to him. After the fuel rods were installed, the mechanical arm stretched out and lifted the Lungsun and moved it to a device the size of a van. Several people followed the mechanical arm to the device and saw that the door on the side of the device opened. The mechanical arm installed the engine into the device, and then there was a small locking device inside the device to fix the engine. More than a dozen cables and various interfaces were connected to the engine, and the side door of the device was closed. Father Free focused on setting various instructions on the keyboard of the device. After a while, various indicator lights on the device lit up, and various parameters of the Lungsun engine appeared on the screen. The Lungsun made a humming sound in this device. This is a mecha engine power test bench, which is only available in engine manufacturers and large laboratories. It can simulate the working conditions of various mechas, let the engine work, and test the performance of the engine. The energy output by the engine is connected to the large rechargeable battery of the smart house. If the battery is fully charged, the excess energy will be converted into electricity and sent to the city's power grid, and any engine power will be digested. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.